Hey everybody, greetings. Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy, episode number 224. Hey, we're still rolling along. What do you say about that, Alan?
I say we're doing pretty damn good.
Yep. Heads down and one foot in front of the other. Good to see everybody tonight. Hope you had a great week. And we are once again joined by two exceptional guests. And haven't seen this gentleman for a while, but Bill from the Ninth Circle. What's been going on, man?
Nothing much. Just Uncross has been, for anybody that maybe hasn't watched me on here before on my channel, my band Uncross just played a show recently. We're getting ready to record again in the next few months here. So, but other than that, just everyday life, boring old man stuff. So I'm glad to be here and chat about some awesome ending tracks on some albums.
Hell yeah. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And folks, if you're unfamiliar with this fine gentleman, go check out his YouTube channel. Link in the description below. He does some fine things that most of us YouTubers do and shows off some cool stuff and has a lot of opinions about them. So if you need some more guidance, this guy here can definitely help you out as well. And this guy is no stranger to these parts. What's up, Logan?
Yeah. Hey, not been too long. How you guys doing?
Good. Is your wife complaining about us yet?
No. Never.
Very awkward pause there.
She supports everything I do, including this with y'all. So cheers, guys.
Right on.
Be here again twice in a week. Excited to talk about closing tracks. Awesome.
So cheers to Mrs. Yard. We appreciate you as well. The soldiers behind the scenes, they are supportive. And it was funny. Wednesday night we had someone on there saying, "How do you guys do this all the time? Don't you have wives? Aren't you married?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "My wife doesn't let me do anything." I'm like, "Oh man,
I'm sorry, man. My condolences."
Good luck with that.
With the right amount of neglect, you can get away with stuff. It's you gotta just lower the bar little by little.
Right.
Hey, George G.
Project.
I want to get a hold of you about being on here one of these nights too. So I need to, I don't know if we're friends on Facebook or if you could hit me up on the Instagram under Heavy Metallurgy. Say hello. We need to, we'll talk. Anyway, cheers to you. And sorry to interrupt you, Lo. I just saw him in here and I've been thinking about getting a hold of him. And perfect timing. Anyway.
Fresh meat. It's all good.
And Alan, of course. Everybody, I'm sure you know, but Let's Talk Metal is an amazing channel that happens every Tuesday, right on time. You can set a clock to it. And he has been here since the very moment. He is the shield to my armor, if you could say, and the brains of the operation. Alan,
George, you throw me under the bus and hold me up front to take the hit.
Right. That's good to see you, man. What's been going on with you?
Not too much. It's back to school season for the little guy, so doing that kind of stuff. Did want to say a big thank you to Melanie, who sent me one of her cool new Melanie Loves Death Metal shirts. So if you haven't got those, she's got some great designs and merch over on her site. So thank you very much, Melanie, for the awesome shirt. And wanted to say a congratulations to Thomas over at Merciful Metal channel. He is about to be a daddy.
Yeah.
So
he might be his last video. It might have happened.
It may have already happened. Yes, they're due sometime here, anytime now, basically. So we may not see him on the VC so much for a little bit. But yeah, cheers and congratulations to Thomas and the mama to be.
Right on. Well, Logan came up with an idea for a topic on the Discord server, and what was the impetus behind this one, Logan?
All right. So in all fairness, I just stole someone else's idea. I did not come up with this. Join the Discord server, everyone. It's awesome. Everyone's talking, 24/7. Basically, it's like being in the chat all the time. Lots of great albums and recommendations and just fun conversation to be had there. And there's often good questions posed to the whole group overall. One of the people who does it quite often is Daryl over at Celtic Frosty. He started it off with like great opening tracks, and then Peter, the Metal Vault, follow him on Instagram. He's got a awesome collection,
He's in the chat. We need to get Peter on here too one of these days. A guy needs to start YouTube. He's got to collect. He doesn't even probably know what's in that damn thing.
No, I don't think he does. He
Really? Like Tyler.
I don't know if it's alphabetical. I'm pretty sure
I get the feeling it's not.
Yeah, just luck of the draw. So
Yeah.
Peter, you should definitely join in a night or two. And he brought this up. What are the best closing tracks for an album that makes you want to spin it again, or listen to more of that band? And to me, these are the best songs on the album. Like, I've always enjoyed closing tracks the most for albums. Like, if I were to rank like the importance of a track listing, you want to start strong but finish stronger, to me. And I think there's a lot more to be said about a closing track being memorable than an opening track, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, it's your last impression. So that when you're hitting stop or putting it away or moving on to something else, that's kind of the last thing that resonates with you. If that last track was killer, you're thinking, damn, I want to hear that again. Whereas if it's a real dud, it can color your perception of the whole album. It's just like, yeah, okay, well, done with that. So no, I think that's a good point, Logan. Sure, yeah, the opening track is super important too. But yeah, that last impression you make before the album runs out, that's a big deal.
From my experience, like, good and great albums have have amazing opening tracks. But albums that are like near perfect or classics, they also seal the deal as well. So to me, that's almost more important for being like a 9 out of 10 kind of album, versus a 7 or an 8 out of 10.
I really agree with you guys, but for me, the last track is important, but the first track is the one that says, hey, you need to listen to this album. If you start off your album with, say, Mexican Radio,
Yeah.
That right there is kind of like, what is happening? I don't care. I really don't even care what's next.
You're already confused at that point. Like, what?
But to be fair, though, Marty, you're starting with the bar way down here. That floor is like sub-basement right now.
Right. But it could be on the same token, work the opposite way. Well, the next song can't be that bad. But Bill, what do you think about the whole thing?
I agree with you that I think the first track has to be very strong to kind of pull you into the world already, that let you know what you're along for the ride. But the last track also should be awesome and really kind of cap the whole experience, to make it feel like you're getting a complete package. A dud ending track can really leave a bad taste in your mouth.
For sure. Well, we've been tasked with the mission of picking a bunch of albums that have what we consider to be good or great ending songs. It would have been interesting to pick albums that have bad ending songs, but I had a hard enough time pulling these.
Friday night,
yeah, we can do that another Friday night. I don't even. I may have to actually plan ahead for that one a little bit better than I do. But.
That's right. Now, Marty, before we started through the chain, we are 224 episodes in, correct?
Correct.
I must break protocol on this particular episode.
Go for it.
I want to go first in the first round.
Fuck yeah, you got it.
Because I have a song, and I want to see if I want to start with the best I found, and I want to see if a single song comes up tonight that makes me reconsider.
Is it the side two of the Randy 7-inch?
Don't scoop me on
side 2 of the Randy 7-inch. Here we go.
Yes, in all seriousness, I have dug through the collection a lot the past several days looking at stuff, and this is a little harder thing to look up. Some folks in the chat have already mentioned it's like, this is a little harder to think of because it's not just remembering the name or the release date. You have to remember what is the actual last track, and in a lot of cases, like we were talking backstage before coming out, you checked some records and it's like, oh wait, that's the next to last track, or there's some other outro thing you forgot about, or a bad cover song at the end. But yeah, anyway, this when I found this one, I'm just like, that's got to be the one, and I can't think of anything that's going to top it. It is the closing track on Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast.
Oh, you bastard!
That's why I wanted to go first.
We're on the list already. This could be a 1 hour episode.
That was gonna be my first pick. I was like, they're gonna let me go first. I'm gonna get away with it.
Nope. For the first time in 224 episodes,
Alan,
I'm going first.
trumped everybody.
No one's shitting in the professor's cereal tonight. Not a bit.
I'm not playing second fiddle on this one. Hallowed be thy name, the final track on Number of the Beast. It is not just an incredible way to close the album. It's arguably the best song in Iron Maiden's entire catalog. People can have other favorites. They, of course, have a ton of classic songs. But I think if you went out and polled 100 or 500 Maiden fans, I think you'd find a pretty good representation of folks picking Hallowed Be Thy Name as their favorite song.
Yeah.
For me, this one it's great having it as the last song too, because this is an album for me that is kind of uneven. I know some people swear by the album and that's cool. They love it that much. It's never been my personal favorite Maiden album. It's got some great tracks on it, but it has some that I really don't connect with. But Hallowed Be Thy Name, just the whole thing with Bruce kind of quietly singing, leading up to, getting the last rites and being executed. It is amazingly done. So all week going through, it's just like, this is the ultimate closing track. And we've got 3 hours for someone to find something to prove me wrong tonight, which will be cool if someone does come up with one that I like more. But it seems we were all on the same page thinking this is an absolute must for this topic. So we're starting with a bang. Hallowed Be Thy Name from the immortal Number of the Beast album. Now we can go back to our regular run item and you can run pattern and you can skip me for round one.
Nope, you're the first. You're the first. You're the one. You're the one in charge of the Wheaties tonight. On the strong Wheaties defense. Okay. Bill, where are you going to start?
All right. I did not pick that because not that wasn't a great album and great song, but I just kind of felt like, I want to do something. This is going to be pretty obvious. This is a twofer. So this is obviously a band that's a classic cornerstone band of metal here. So different eras. So 2 different ending tracks from 2 different eras. So first off, we're doing The Writ from Sabotage here.
Dude, that I almost picked that too.
That song. So, it's such an interesting song because, of course, first off, it starts out, it's just kind of a weird, creepy intro. You've got the bass going, but then when everybody else kicks in and Ozzy kicks in, like the vocals are so forceful and passionate, he's with it when he's like, the way I feel is the way I am, and like they kick into it. There's a lot of ebb and flow in the song too. I don't know what, there's the kind of like harpsichord part that's really pretty and everything like that, and lush. And this album, is probably one of the most experimental Sabbath records of all time, and reading the lyrics seem to be pretty much about them feeling burned by their manager and like the recording industry and like just people like, there's a line about like women digging gold. Are they still going to be around when I'm through? That kind of thing, like feeling like their career's over. They're washed up. They're done, and like they're being hung out to dry. But then it has kind of a hopeful ending of like, you know what, in the long run, everything's going to be fine. I'm not, this isn't the end. It's just the end of a certain period of maybe riding high of being a rock star kind of thing,
And actually, a little side note, that is one of the few lyrics that Ozzy actually wrote.
Yeah, and it's a great lyric. And so
he wrote that song, the lyrics to that song.
Yeah, I know he didn't write a lot of lyrics for Sabbath, but those lyrics are great. And so that's part one of it. Part two, of course, for the Dio era, you got Lonely Is the Word. What a soulful, powerful ending to this record. Like that bass line, the geezer bass line in it is just pulsing and powerful. Of course, Dio's vocals, super smoky and soulful, just a great kind of mellow way to end, this album and kind of introduce Dio into the Sabbath universe, this being his first run in the record. So another total banger way to end that. So that's my first two for Black Sabbath, The Writ, and Lonely Is the Word.
Oh, good call for sure. And and that I think highlights something else important that we'll see tonight, Bill. There were certain bands I noticed that are really good at nailing the last track. So I expect to see multiple albums by certain bands.
Oh yeah,
for sure. As we go through our lists, I may circle back to some bands a couple of times myself. We'll see. But I believe it's going to be Logan's turn next.
Correct.
Yes. Which, man, Alan, I'm still speechless, actually. 'Cause I swear I was like literally gaming the system. I was like, this is the song.
It was
This is
so
the
good. I was
song.
just like, it has to be
Like,
mentioned first.
I had to throw the gauntlet down.
I was like, there's no way it's going to be either me or Bill. Bill might choose it. Let me, but it's a 50-50 shot. I should have realized. A little more backstory for me with Hallowed Be Thy Name. It was really the first song that made me realize, you can do something different and bigger and more bombastic for an album closer. Like, it was one of those first, like, aha moments, growing up and getting into metal records where I was like, this is, it seals the deal for the album, but also it makes me want to listen to the whole thing over again just to get that opening, start of Hallowed and that, epic build up to the final, when he finally actually, sings Hallowed Be Thy Name. So yeah, as long as it got mentioned first, we're good. We're good. And it's funny, I did have a backup, even though I figured I thought I was going to get away with it. I did have a backup Iron Maiden, and this might be your kryptonite, Alan, right? I don't know. Alexander the Great.
Alan is wrong on this one, by the way. Everybody in the community, in case you're wondering if the professor's ever wrong,
it does
here's
happen.
an album he's wrong on. Yeah, a little bit.
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong on Hallowed, but
no, he was not wrong.
You don't like this album, Alan?
I've never gotten into this album. There's a few songs on it I like, but overall I find it just very long-winded.
Oh,
it took a long time for me to get into it too. It was a grower for me, but I do really love it now.
That's cool, and maybe it'll connect with me one day. I have a copy. I give it a spin from time to time to see if it's come around yet. But okay, so Logan's going. So you're going with Alexander the Great here.
Yeah,
okay.
I would agree with it being a grower. I guess real quick note about all the songs that I'm picking. For all the prospective albums that they're featured on, they're all going to be my favorite song on that album. So there's never going to be like, oh, I actually do prefer the opener just a little bit, but the closer's so good. No, it's all the closer's the best track in my humble opinion. And yeah, Alexander the Great, I think, is a perfect closer. It's only topped by Hallowed Be Thy Name. So. But I just love it's got the story, and it kind of builds just like Hallowed Be Thy Name to Bruce singing, Alexander the Great dying in wherever he died in Alexandria or whatever. So yeah, definitely a epic closer to me, a pretty great album, but it is made all the better by the closing track.
Right on. Good one. All right. Well, I'm going to start this metal program off with some non-metal stuff. That's the way it's going to go here. But
is it a rat pick? Did Aaron finally get to you?
No, it's not a rat pick. Although I do love me some rat.
No, rap.
Oh, rap? No.
It seems like a very Aaron thing to do. So I thought maybe the theologian has gotten to you.
Yeah, you mentioned rap 3 times, and look who shows up in the. Jesus, it's like Beetlejuice, but rappier.
Whoop. There you go.
But juggalo-ier. Okay. Well, this band is one of my favorite bands, and they are the absolute undisputed kings of ending an album, usually with something long and dreary and mystical, and that would be The Fields of the Nephilim. This is their second album, The Nephilim, and they end this one with the long, dreary, and a bit abysmal The Last Exit for the Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Carl McCoy has just got that voice of misery. He's got a bit of a deep croak, a little bit of grit to it that could appeal to a metal. If you've never checked out Fields of the Nephilim, here you go. This is a band you need to. They possess a similar darkness that good metal possesses, and it's very much a gothic sackcloth draped over it, but the early stuff in particular has more of a jangly spaghetti western vibe to it. And they put on their flower-covered dusty slickers and the cowboy hats, and they totally look the part. Their shows are nothing but a fog machine. That's their stage show, is a fog machine. And but Last Exit for the Lost is just one of those songs that kind of fills you with wonder, and it ends a very melancholic album with a very dreary but very good song. And then they changed sound. They changed a little bit and kind of embraced more of the gothic persona on Elysium. Man, you want to talk about a depressing album? This is a depressing but fantastic album. They end this album with "And There Will Your Heart Be Also." It's kind of track 7 and 8, they kind of blend together, and this is one of those songs that if I'm in the mood, it will get me kind of weepy. It's a really super emotional song, but they just end on such an absolute downer on this record. But it's really great. Really, again, they got the mission statement. They know if they're going to carry along in this kind of downtrodden vibe, they really know how to put the last nail in your coffin. And this is the song. And then their most recent, I don't know, a decade ago, however long this came out, Morning Sun. Carl, over the years, changed the main guys in the Nephilim left after the third album, and started a band called the Rubicon. And but he went on with other guys other than the original bass player, and this is Morning Sun. And the last track on here, Morning Sun, the guitars are a bit heavier. You can tell that he had leaned into the metal side a bit more. But man, it's just a very atmospheric, heavy. It's a heavy track. It's just misery, man. There's just misery coming out of these notes. And even to a lesser extent on their debut album, I really wanted Dawn Razor to be the last song on here, the title track, because that is another kind of like Last Exit for the Lost, kind of a jangly spaghetti western downer. But they actually end this one with a sequel, which is a very dreamy kind of sounding track, got a very jangly guitar line in it. Not a lot of depth in the production of this album, but it is very atmospheric. And yeah, they're just I don't know. They just seem to know how to put the right exclamation point on every album. And even though Dawn Razor, I think, probably would have been a better ending, sequel's a very good ending to this. So yeah, for my first start, we got a 4 here with Fields of the Nephilim. If you are not familiar, seriously, give your ears a rest with the metal and go to something a little bit more emotionally absorbed. And that'll be the Fields of the Nephilim.
Yeah. No, that's a good pick, Marty. A lot of folks like that in the chat.
Phenomenal.
Last Exit for the Lost is an excellent way to end that album. It really just brings it all together in this big, perfect climax.
All right. What you got next there, Professor?
Well, I think I've got another pretty good one here.
Yeah, might as well just get ready to take it out of my stack.
Tony's already kind of beat me to the punch in the chat here. So but that's okay. Tony beat me because the end doesn't scare us. Launch the Polaris.
Yeah, that was mentioned in the chat. Great pick. Great album.
Yep. Yeah, great album and great way to close it. Fantastic song. This one, I think you do have to sort of give the preceding track some credit here, though, too. Dawn Patrol is a very short number, and it sets up Rest in Peace Polaris really, really nicely. So it's not an intro. I mean, Dawn Patrol is its own little thing. But those two just really go together in a way. It's hard to imagine just jumping straight to Rest in Peace Polaris without having Dawn Patrol in there before it. But yeah, obviously, more killer riffs like the entire album's got. But I've always liked the way Mustaine just kind of, sneers out the chorus. It's just like, launch the Polaris. The end doesn't scare us. The fact that he figured out to rhyme scare us with Polaris and it actually works. I thought was fairly clever, works well. It was topical for its time. Then the Cold War ended and thrash bands kind of lost a big chunk of their lyrical inspiration with nuclear holocaust off the table for at least a few decades. But just a really cool closing track that one of the standouts on an album that's full of standouts. So absolutely, Rest in Peace Polaris. Last track on Rust in Peace, another top-notch way to close an album. Megadeth often was good at closing their albums out really strong. And again, we might visit some more Megadeth later too. We'll see.
All right. Good pick. Great song, great album. And they're retiring in, next year, new album and final farewell tour. We'll see. Bill.
All right, here's another twofer here. I'll just do the first part of it here because I realized I forgot to grab the other one, so I'll come back around. But this is actually my favorite record by this band, but maybe not their best closing track, but I would say a good ending to this album, punctuating Slayer, Hell Awaits, Hardening of the Arteries. So the thing I like about this song is, you've got the first half of it is the typical blasting, chaotic Slayer song, but the second half where the breakdown, where the drums slow down and it's just the riff, which halftime, drumming, it really punctuates the album well and kind of like gives it that section is just so memorable. Like it always just gets stuck in my head. I can just be thinking about this record and I will totally think about that section of the song, which is definitely a good sign, because most of this record is just them pushing their speed to the limit. How fast can we play and still hold it together? Obviously on the next record, Rain and Blood, their precision is just intense, but this is them pushing the limits to see like, all right, how off the rails can we go and still barely keep it together?
And Raining Blood is no slouch of an ending track either.
Oh no, it isn't. And like I said, I'll even talk about it. The other album I was going to talk about, I won't grab it, but I'll talk about this since it's another Slayer record. But Spill the Blood off South of Heaven, that's the other song, and I think that is a phenomenal ending track to that record. The creepy acoustic intro, and it's got a super memorable riff. The chorus, that you spill the blood, super catchy. Something like Tom doing a little actual singing in it. And that album's a lot kind of slower and more riffy for the most part. South of Heaven, though it does have some super crazy songs like Ghosts of War and Mandatory Suicide. But Spill the Blood definitely is eerie and kind of foreshadows, I think, Seasons in the Abyss. That song is kind of giving away like, hey, our next album ends up being a lot like Spill the Blood. So that's my twofer: Slayer, Hardening of the Arteries, and off of Hell Awaits, and Spill the Blood off of South of Heaven.
Right on. Good one.
Slayer always had great opening songs too. Or ending songs. I just like their openers just a little bit better for me. Like, off of War Ensemble, off of Seasons in the Abyss and stuff. But for me, sticking with more of like a chronological, what closer blew me away when I was younger, still getting into listening to albums in full. This one, which is an album named after the city that I'm currently in, was definitely huge for me. Down. This is their album Nola, which closes out with "Bury Me in Smoke." So, Alan.
Yep,
now we're even.
You got me back. Yep, I was going to mention that was going to be the Logan special for the night.
Your Wheaties defense is weak, Alan.
That's okay. That's okay.
You just dropped a little poo in there.
You shouldn't mind. I
gotta let Logan have his fun too. But that was my dedicated Logan pick for the evening. So no pick for you now.
Parried your thrust there.
It's all good. I'll do my best to handle this. This is one of my all-time favorite riff albums. Every song, it's riff after phenomenal riff, which is that perfect amount of like blues inflection in there. And then when you think you've heard all of the killer, amazing riffs, it opens with one of the best ones with "Bury Me in Smoke," and then it just gets better and better. Like all of the best riffs on this album are practically in this song, and it goes from opening with the killer riff to going to, even the verses have just a more down-tuned and quieter version of it. And I just love how it builds to the final end, which is just really this jam section, basically on the one riff, just carrying it out for like 4 minutes. And if you ever have the pleasure of seeing Down live, they basically jam on that for, 8, 10, 15, however many minutes they feel like until they think the song is over. They'll just keep playing it. They'll invite other musicians up on stage to play with them. When I saw them live, some of the band members, like kids, were up on there playing the instruments. It's just fun. It's one of the best riffs I can think of, and the fact that they wait till the closer, it just blows me away every time I get to the on the album. So yeah, had to mention Down with Bury Me in Smoke for sure, pretty early on.
Yeah. And that's a song I think works much better as the closer than it would at any other spot in that album.
Yes.
Good song, but that is the place it must be. It wouldn't be as good if it was, track 6 or something.
Yep. Longest song in the album, which I think a lot of the closers that I pick at least are kind of longer songs in general. So it just gives the band more space to open it up and experiment and, play around with like even this overall song structure as they do in Bury Me in Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. You caught me just
I'll keep talking.
Are y'all still debating butter in the chat over there?
Yeah, the country crock versus butter.
country crock, man. That was the country crock house.
I missed how that conversation started, and I want to know.
If you get crawfish etouffee, you want the country crock for sure.
They still, country crock lives on, man. Yeah. It's still clogging arteries centuries beyond its inception. Okay, here we go. Last, I think of the dreary, sad bastard music. God, this album, Joy Division's Closer. Talk about a dreary, down in the dumps album. This is it. They end with Decades, which coming, with Ian Curtis taking his own life shortly after this, shortly on the eve, hours away from their U.S. tour. He took his own life. But the last song on here, Decades, is what a way to leave this album. It's the foundation of the track is mostly like a weird hypnotic keyboard thing. It's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's mostly synth.
And the bass guitar is very plunky sounding. Peter Hook's bass contribution, but it's just a very haunting song. Ian's voice is just very downtrodden and miserable, and a lot of times he's kind of warbling a bit off key, kind of what it was kind of his thing, but it just seems a bit more miserable, like he was really in a bad space when he recorded this. Obviously he had some pretty major health problems that impacted his life in many ways, but leaving a very sad album on a very sad note. It's kind of a perfect ending to his career and this album for sure. Again, step outside the metal realm, check this out. This is if you're into the sad bastard darkness of, some goth or post-punk or whatever you want to call this band, that Joy Division are the kings of it for sure.
Doesn't get much more bleak than Joy Division, honestly.
No, well, especially this album. I thought Unknown Pleasures had some uplifting kind of stuff. She lost control and, but yeah, for sure. Okay. Oh, dude. Yeah. Peter, the whole of Disintegration by The Cure is a very bummer album too, with few moments of light sprinkled throughout it. What a great Cure album. Probably their best. One of their best for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alan.
Oh, am I up? Sorry, I was drinking. Do I have Kool-Aid mouth? I hope I don't have Kool-Aid mouth, but it would be appropriate for my next pick.
Get you some country crock. Get that off there.
There you go.
Guyana's Cult of the Damned.
Dude, you pulled up Manowar. I was about to scream and flip a table, but we're safe.
No. People have been naming some other Manowars, and Manowar does have some really good closers. But Guyana Cult of the Damned is such a creepy and majestic song, and just this monumental, dark, epic closer to the album. It has this weird little rhythm to the verses too, where they're kind of actually go kind of fast, and they're not all bombastic. It's almost like this weird whisper Eric Adams does. Yeah, and some of the lines are just kind of chilling. Stuff like looking for the line here, be kind, to the children and old people first. Hand them a drink. They're dying of thirst. And of course, 918 people died at Jonestown in Guyana, which is what the song is all about. The Jonestown massacre from the late 70s. And just, the little starting, refrain too of, thank you for the Kool-Aid, Reverend Jim, as they start dun, 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 building up to it. real spine chilling kind of stuff. It's one of Manowar's finest moments. It's a very different mood than what most people associate Manowar with. For most folks, Manowar is, kings of metal and that kind of stuff. And I like a lot of those songs, but it's usually just the muscle-bound Conan kind of thing. Tracks like Guyana and other ones from these early albums, had more like the original Conan mentality about them, where they were actually kind of deep and brooding and thoughtful about things, not just Hulk smash with sword and fist kind of things that they got more and more into as they got into the Atlantic years. But yeah, I don't know if they ever did a song that was as haunting as Guyana's Call to the Damned. It's, I know a lot of people would point towards like, Black Arrows, maybe off of Hail to England. Also, fantastic stuff. But yeah, this one again, just, the real macabre nature of the subject matter and the way they treat it and turn it into, just this kind of creepy, more delicately put together song than a lot of Manowar fare. Always blows me away. I've heard this song for decades, and it's still one that when I put it in, it's just like, oh, that's fucking good, and that's fucking creepy. I need like a squashmallow to hug or something after hearing that, because that'll mess with you. So yeah, we might circle back to some more Manowar later, Marty. You can keep that table handy just in case we get there. But Guyana, that's incredible songwriting and performance right there.
Right on. All right, Bill.
All right, we'll get a little nastier here. We're gonna go with a little carcass crepitating bowel erosion. This song, I mean, I don't know. The riffs in it are just so catchy. I mean, it's such a filthy record still, but you can see the songwriting progression though from Reek. They've come so far by the time they get to Symphonies, and they're going to go even farther, obviously, as we know, with necroticism and heartwork and all that stuff. But man, decrepitating bowel erosion, it just has everything that makes a great Carcass song. You've got the super guttural vomit vocals going on, crazy blasts here and there, and just filthy, menacing guitar tone, so I think it's a great way to punctuate this album. It's a great, not a super long song, but for them at this point, I think because it's about maybe 3.5 minutes or something, and Carcass at this time, that was still a pretty epic. Yep. Love it. Crepitating bowel erosion.
Good one.
On a slightly related note to that song title, my son got a great laugh this week because at some point I farted so hard I actually ripped my underwear a few days ago. I don't think I had bowel erosion.
But, but that was more like bowel explosion. It sounds like, but that's.
I think that
everything was clean. Yeah. It was just sheer wind power, I guess.
Yeah,
that underwear must have been it was just clinging by a thread. It was at the end of its life cycle. I think
it might have been, but when I put it on in the morning, everything was intact. And a little while later, after that, we had to check, and just like, there's a hole I can put my fist through down there. What the hell?
Wow.
So, just
impressive.
Maybe I'm sharing too much. Yeah, sorry.
It is powerful. I'm impressed. I must say.
I am now well known throughout the local 6th grade as Dean's dad who farts so hard he rips his pants.
Tip of the proverbial hat to use.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's how the shit got in my Iron Maiden Wheaties. I was wondering how that floated all the way over here.
That's what did it.
I was wondering how that popped up over here in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yep. You're gonna be in the casket, and his eulogy is gonna come up with that story. That's gonna stick with him the rest of his life.
It probably will, which is exactly why I shared it with him.
Yeah.
There are some things you got to let a 10-year-old have fun with, and just have that memory to run with for a while.
Cast iron colon there, my friend.
Oh, I got a story I'll tell in the dugout after about what happened with my dad. But it's not with me, it's with my dad. When I was a kid, it was funny as shit. Anyway, Logan.
Alan, that's gotta be the Red Bulls, I think, man. I don't know. Or yeah.
The professor farts steel, everybody. Yeah, right here. Peter, farts of steel.
Well, back to Metal of Steel. So I should have picked this before I picked Down, because the closing track for this album, walked so Down could run, basically. And I'm surprised and happy that I was able to be the one to pull this, because this was the other one I was worried someone else was going to pull. But thankfully, Bill chose the Rip. So I get Into the Void, which...
Excellent choice.
What a fucking song. Just like Down, basically, it's riff after riff. And when you think that, like the whole album is just, once again, another riff perfect album. And you're like, how are they going to top this? Then you get to Into the Void, and all of the best riffs are on that song from Master of Reality. And it just keeps going. And it once again, it has that like jam-like element where they're just trading off phenomenal, riff choices, and the final moments is once again like they change it up within the last 20 seconds or so. One of my top 3 favorite Black Sabbath songs, and yeah, I think it might be number 2, appropriate after Alan's story, but also, just what a way to end one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums, and near a 10 out of 10 song, and just a perfect riff track that I think influenced tons of bands and really influenced the whole scene of sludge and doom and stoner rock. Down basically based their whole album off of what Black Sabbath was doing, down to the more acoustic interlude song like Solitude. So yeah, Master of Reality to Bury Me in Smoke is, not a coincidence. That was intentional. That Down kind of modeled it off of Black Sabbath. So yeah, happy to be able to mention that one for my pick.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yep. Yeah, and that album, all the Sabbath albums, of course, were influential, but that one just spawned its own genres compared to what the first 2 albums were doing, and what the next couple of albums would do.
All right. Well, I'm going to continue on with that train of thought here with a little bit of a lyric drop. Sometimes I feel like I'm dying at dawn, and sometimes I'm warm as fire. But lately I feel like I'm just going to rain, and it goes over and over and over again. Over and over. The closing track on the magnificent Black Sabbath album, Mob Rules. Listened to this the other day with the kid, and I got to say, again, old and sentimental little things. Music is hitting me again. I get weepy, and that song over and over, ooh, it gets me. Dio has got the voice of a fine, just cracked the lid of that country crock, and it's got that little cute little curly Q swirl in the center. You're the first one that gets to rake the butter knife across the curly Q. Oh, that's his voice. It's like fake butter. But man,
this turns into a Pepperidge Farms commercial. You are going to need a new co-host. I'm drawing a line, sir.
But they're gonna license that for a Country Crock commercial now. Over and over.
Call us, Country Crock. We'll take some of that sweet sponsorship money here. Yeah. We got bills to pay here. But,
almost as sweet as Pepperidge Farms.
Get your Pepperidge Farms and Country Crock at Bob Evans, everybody. Yep. This song over and over again, another perfect. These old timers, they know what's up. They know how to leave the listener wanting more. And, ending with over and over, there's a lot of sorrow in this track. His voice, he sounds a little bit weepy as he's singing it, clean and pure and sad. Introspective. It's just, what a great ending. And, like Heaven and Hell before it, the closing on that is amazing too. I'm looking at both these records like, which one am I picking? I could have picked them both, but I figured Sabbath was going to make the rounds pretty good tonight, especially with all the current events and shit. Obviously we're all kind of trained on Sabbath at the last show and all that stuff, but man, I love me some Dio Sabbath, and I'm going to put it out there. This isn't the last Dio you're seeing tonight by me anyway. So
Dio's already gotten a few shout outs in the chat from folks. Yep.
Nice.
Multiple good ones to call.
Over and over. What a fucking song. Alan.
All right. Well, let's go with another old classic and a band that pulled this trick off, having a killer closing track many times. But this one I think is especially effective at the end of the album. It is Dissident Aggressor.
Yeah.
From Judas Priest's Sin After Sin album.
Great album. God.
great album. You know,
One of their best.
it's one that I think, people have come to really appreciate over the years. It didn't
Love
always
Soulful
get a lot
Bluesy
of talk.
Halford. Love it.
Yeah, in the past, it sometimes kind of got overshadowed because it's sandwiched between two, really towering albums in the catalog. But this one holds its own just fine. But Dissident Aggressor, fantastic song, and it works really well here because, again, the track before it kind of sets it up. Before this, you've got Here Come the Tears, which is kind of this slower, very maudlin track that kind of lulls you into thinking maybe the album's working towards fading out. And then right at the end you get this, and it's a short track. Dissident Aggressor's barely 3 minutes. And just hits you at full metallic speed by 1977 standards, with these crazy lyrics, and this crazy guitar lines. Just canyons of space and time, universal, and just very short, tight, sharp, modern heavy metal sounding song.
Yeah.
From an album that, again, while good, it's still mid 70s here. You're still, again, the old logo, the earth tones and everything. It doesn't, this isn't hell bent for leather. They're not in that phase whatsoever. Halford's still wearing the giant flowing kimono looking things on stage and all that.
Hell, they covered Joan Baez on that record, and it's great.
It's awesome.
It's a great cover. But they're they're in a very different place in terms of inspiration and such. But then to have this final 3 minutes, it's almost like they jump forward in time about 4 or 5 years, grab this song off of like British Steel and drag it back to put on Sin After Sin. And it just leaves you so like, where the hell did that come from? In a way, it almost feels out of place on the album a little bit. Lots of good tracks on the album, not underselling it at all, but it doesn't necessarily fit with a lot of the other stuff on the album. It's a lot more modern sounding, and the fact that it comes out of nowhere after this really slow, dreary kind of song and just grabs you by the throat for 3 fast minutes and then lets you go, and the album's done. And it's just like, oh shit, we got to play that again. Absolutely. It's the perfect example of what Logan was talking about, where that last track leaves you immediately hyped about the album and wanting to go back through it to re-experience those final moments. So Priest, probably see more examples a bit later, but Dissident Aggressor I felt was the first one that should be mentioned from Priest. Killer way to close an album. Absolutely.
All right, Bill, what you got?
All right, we're gonna go with another classic here. It's kind of tying into your Mexican radio. This is the band that did that, but obviously they ended this album well with Necromantical Screams.
Yeah.
I fucking
Necromantical Screams.
Yeah, that song, I mean, perfect way to end this record. Just awesome riffs. You've got a little bit, some of their avant-garde Baroque tendencies that they were really reaching for start coming out on that song. Like I said, I feel like listening to it, I was listening to it again today, and I'm like, I feel like this is what they were going to try to do, like something in that vein on Into the Pandemonium and anything, and they wouldn't really ever get to that and explore it further till Monotheist, where they really reached in and still had, it's the perfect mix between their primitive beginnings and like the avant-garde aspirations they were developing. But like I said, Into the Pandemonium touched on that a little bit, didn't quite hit the mark, but man, Necromantical Screams just ends that record on such a high note for me.
Classic.
And just kind of it's such an influential to Megatherion, such an influential record on the black metal, death metal world that would come in the future. So killer stuff.
Great pick. Logan.
Yep.
Yeah. So my first couple picks, all low-hanging fruit. I'm basically just picking the biggest metal bands out there. I don't know. I wanted to start with like the classics and work my way in, or start with the obvious ones, because I wasn't sure how quickly some of these were going to go. So, we got Iron Maiden, we got Sabbath. Obviously, the next one is Metallica. Come on. Ride the Lightning. Great album overall. Perfect riff album once again. I love a good riff. But the
I even like
closer-
Escape on that album. I like it. I know the band hates it, but I like Escape.
I'm actually not
Good
the biggest
song. It is
fan
a
of
good
Escape.
song.
No,
Yeah,
I dig it.
Escape was always the one misfire for me.
I hate
It's
to
a
say it,
misfire, but I still like
Escape
it.
Escape and Trapped Under Ice both for me are like a little bit of a, but then we get to Creeping Death, and then the song that we're here to talk about, Call of Cthulhu. What do you think of that spelling? Ktulu. They made it simple. I kind of like that. Easier to.
It's like phonetically
Remember.
spelled. Yeah.
Good point, Bill.
It's like they were all in the studio without any books or the internet, because it wasn't there, and they're like, "What do we call this? Cthulhu." Yeah, KT.
It actually was smart because, in '84, a lot of people might not have had any idea what to make of the actual spelling. Because, it's not something you could just type in and look up back then. So spelling it that way probably was smart.
But my favorite Metallica closing song, people have been mentioning Dyer's Eve in the chat, and that one comes close just because of the intensity. But I just like the ambition on an 8-minute, almost 9-minute long instrumental closer like this one. This is Metal's Night on Bald Mountain. It's just so epic, and it builds to this just bombastic crescendo. And you close your eyes, it has a visual element too. You can literally see, the Call of Cthulhu, the final moments of that story kind of in your mind as the song is playing. And I just love like the snaking serpentine riffs that kind of lead the song. Honestly, I think Lars does a great job with his performance on it, kind of building these bombastic moments. And then when it finally gets to the climax, it really does feel like the perfect album closer. And then it keeps going. Like you think it's done, and then it comes back for one more final bum 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 boom. Love how this closes out Ride the Lightning for sure. And easily beats out the other Metallica closing tracks, which is no small feat because Metallica did know how to close out the first 4 albums for sure. So, Call of Cthulhu.
I thought that one might get mentioned tonight. Yep.
Well, we're going to get this little stack out of the way here, and this is based on current events. This past Wednesday, we talked about Stronghold by Summoning, and they end this album with the amazing, bombastic, electrifying A Distant Flame Before the Sun. Oh my God. You want to talk about, I talked about this a lot the other night, but one of my favorite closers to an album is just so cinematic. Feels like you're in the middle of a battle and someone lit an orc on fire and this orc is shouting at the opposing armies. Selenius's voice is just so scathing and acidic on here, but it's triumphant. It's battle worn. It feels like victory is at hand. It's just absolutely great. But Summoning are really great at closing their albums. The follow-up album, Let Mortal Heroes Sing Your Fame, has Farewell. Another bombastic, very orchestrated, a lot of horns and samples from Middle Earth. And then on this one, Oathbound, we close with Land of the Dead. A lot of male choir on this one, but it's still very bombastic. This album is really good, but it suffers from a very bad guitar sound. I don't know what they were thinking on this one, but the guitar sound, it makes the album suffer a bit, but great closing track regardless. There's probably a couple others I could have picked and shown in this pile because they understood the homework and they end the album with something for you to remember, whether it's, cheap sounding synth horns and just feels like the hordes are rallying type of thing. It's just, they're great. They're great at what they do. Absolutely fantastic band. All right, Alan.
All right. I've been kind of following Logan's philosophy tonight too, covering a lot of the bigger bands first. And again, maybe we'll have time to circle back to some, maybe we won't. There's only 1 or 2 more I want to touch on before getting into some different things. But Motorhead has good closing tracks to a lot of their albums. The one I'm going to pick for the first Motorhead call here, though, is a strange one, but it's an amazingly powerful song. It's the closing track to to their 1916 album, which is the
That's a
title track.
Great album.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a very fun album. Yeah, this was a real shot in the arm. Motorhead through the late 80s, it's not like they were doing bad, but you kind of felt, they had sort of lost some momentum during that time frame. And, to come back, with this, very fun, upbeat, energetic album. The side one in particular, they just crush it on every track. Then you get to the last track, 1916, named for the album. And it's one of the only ballads that Lemmy ever did. Motorhead, not really associated with, ballads whatsoever. And this song, there's very little instrumentation to it. It's very quiet. Lemmy sings in a very calm, clean voice. And it is one of the most heart-wrenching songs in heavy metal. Lemmy just, very poignantly singing about, boys going off to the Great War and not coming back, at least not outside of a box. His delivery, again, just very quiet, just very minimal instrumentation, little, Marshall drum in the background, just little touches to make it very somber. It's a very quiet, it's a very serene, and it is a just, tear-jerkingly sad song. And it's such a strange song for Motorhead. And it's such a strange way to end an album that's packed with, again, a lot of really lively tracks. I'm So Bad, Baby, I Don't Care, Going to Brazil, The One to Sing the Blues. And for it to all just stop, done with that, and close off in this completely different, space, and to do it so beautifully for a band that, never really did much before or after in that vein whatsoever, for them to just absolutely, bring you to tears with this one beautiful, peaceful moment at the end of this rocking album. I always thought it was a brilliant way to close the album, even though it's completely out of touch with the rest of the disc. It's a phenomenal song. If you've never heard it, it's definitely one to check out. It's one of the only times you'll ever hear Lemmy, do a ballad, and it should be heard. Just have a tissue handy, because you might get a little something in your eye.
I think
that song, and it's not quite as sad. What you say, Logan? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think that's one of the great things about a closer. You can get away with doing something you wouldn't normally ever do, but it's more acceptable because it's how you're, ending the album. It's just for one song. You can kind of experiment, try that one thing. And, it might work thematically, and it might stick with the listener more so than what the usual run-of-the-mill, your sound is. So, that's a great example of that. Great.
And that's a good point, Logan. Yeah, a lot of bands do that. And the last track is they want now for something completely different to kind of get your attention back if the songs have started running together. Yep, really good point.
All right. Bill.
All right. Well, I wanted to pick another thrasher piece here, if you will. And I know Marty's a big fan of this band, and I am too. Sing its praises all the time. We got a little Holy Terror. We're going with Mind Wars, Christian Resistance, the last song off of their what would be their last album, unfortunately. So, yeah. So
I don't know if they could have topped. They couldn't have topped it, man. I don't know.
I don't know if they could have either. I mean, they. I know they were burning the candle at both ends. Like there was a lot of amphetamine use in the band.
There was.
Yeah, which is well documented, and that's hence the reason they were playing faster than the fastest. But I think it also contributed to the personality clashes and things like that. But Christian Resistance, I mean, it's kind of a classic, anti-Jesus, anti-Christianity song. But the opening riff. Again, it's just a ripper, and when Keith's vocals tear into it, going a mile a minute, and he does the middle part. I love when he goes into that crazy, weird, screeching Muppet voice that he would do in songs where he's like, he's just, and there's so many lyrics. That man packed more lyrics into a song, I think, than any other lyricist.
But he made it so melodious, and he really was the glue that held that shit together, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, what a singer, man.
He really is. Like, his flow was excellent. Like, it's like the amount of breath control it takes to be reciting all these lyrics at such a fast pace is impressive, you know.
Yep.
And his clean singing voice, very very powerful as
Unique.
well. Like, I mean, he would go, like I said, he had the thrash voice, he had the screechy Muppet voice, and he had a good solid clean classic metal voice, and he excelled at all of that. So this band, I can never talk enough good stuff about Holy Terror. Two phenomenal albums, and I feel like they're untouchable. So great way to basically end their career on that song.
Yep. Good call, Bill. Yeah, you know you might be overdoing it when John Arch calls and says, "Dude, try being a little more concise."
Yeah, maybe a little editing is a good idea. Yeah, if he's telling you to edit yourself.
Yeah, Martin Walker's offering to help you edit. You know.
Yeah, they pulled it off though.
Oh yeah, they really do. They really do.
All right, Logan.
All right. Well, Marty already talked about this man right here when he compared him to a knife full of almost butter, but the first most precious knife full as on fresh toast.
That virgin country crock.
Oh, the best. Oh, I got you. I'm so sorry.
I've got so much Dio in this stack, it's not even funny. Anyway.
Well, I was going to make this a twofer, so maybe I won't. If you
go for it. Do it. No, go
Just
for it.
do it. Just hit them all. Hit them all.
Shit in my country crock. That's fine.
Hey, man, this is like Irish butter for me. I don't know about country crock. This is straight from the Highland Hills, you know. All I know is it blew my mind getting through this album. Like, you buy it for, of course, Holy Diver and Rainbow in the Dark. Stand Up and Shout, what a great, like, fast opener. And then, you know, it hits highlight songs like Gypsy, gotta have the girl, you know, track in there.
Oh, the evil girl.
You know,
yeah,
the
that's
evil,
a Dio thing.
that Gypsy girl. Damn. Don't talk
Even
to
back to
strangers.
the Elf days. Even going back to the Elf days, he had the girl that did him wrong songs. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It's a Dio classic, Country Girls and all, you know.
Yeah.
Don't Talk to Strangers is like another epic. I'm like, man, this surely is the best song on the album. And then you get to Shame on the Night. Holy shit. It's like proto epic doom. It slows it down. The riffs are so dark and like visual. Like, it feels indeed like a, you know, full moon night, and you can hear the wolves howling in the distance and stuff, and just the riffs that are being played are perfect. Dio surrounded himself with amazing musicians, and this is no different on here. And it really runs the full gambit. Like, it builds epic, and then it drops down dynamically to the quieter, you know, da-na-na, da-na-na, and then it comes in for like the slowest final section. So I Shame on the Night is my favorite Dio song, period. Probably my favorite song that Dio's sung on. The twofer, which I hope I'm not stealing from you again, Marty, it was already mentioned in the chat, but Egypt, the Chains Are On. What a great, you know, almost ballad-like track. And I think Dio on Last in Line really did just a great kind of a copy, not a full copy, but it feels like it flows similarly to Holy Diver in that it opens with like We Rock, and then you got a good balance between slower tracks and songs like I Speed at Night and you know, then more like 80s songs like Eat Your Heart Out, but then saving the best for last. Egypt, the Chains Are On is easily the best track on this album. So lots of love for Dio, and he knew how to choose great musicians and how to save the best for last. So,
Right on.
Sorry about your butter, Marty.
Oh, it's all right. It's not really butter though. That's the trick here. Yeah. Alan touched on Man of War, and one of my favorites is Into Glory Ride. And I tell you, this last song on here, March for Revenge by the Soldiers of Death. Oh my God. I love this song. Starts off so bombastic and powerful, you know, total Man of War for this era. And then it gets to this very beautiful middle section of the song where everything fades away except for a very ornate bass line. And Eric Adams is singing over the top, For When We March, Your Sword Rides With Me. Oh my God. It's so great. It's such a nice, classy touch to this really heavy song. And then when it all comes back in, the big, for when we march, it's just, your clist is fenched. Your clist is fenched. Let me tell you, that's serious. When your clist is fenched, you know it's a great fucking song. By the way,
Well, you got
I didn't know I had a clist.
you do. When you're listening to Man of War, your clist is fenched. And man, what a great ending to this fucking album.
The only
Fenched clist is no laughing matter.
No, that's the next heavy metal or
That's something special
shirt.
right there.
Is this a clinch?
Fence is held high.
Is this a clist?
Maybe. At least you found it.
Yeah.
Good job. Report back to your wife.
Yeah.
So
Make sure
Marty,
she's a
question,
happy person.
trying to partially get us back on track. So could, with that sword you just mentioned, could maybe have the band used that sword to spread some of that country crock all of themselves, and that's why they look so buttered up in that cover photo? Or is a sword inappropriate for a spreading country crock?
Whatever it takes to get to the bottom of that bucket. You know, sometimes you need a clist fence.
I mean, if you
short
go
sword.
tub at Costco or something, you might need a sword to get down there. Get it out of the corners and just lather Eric up with another coat there before they took the shot.
I don't even drink anymore, and this is happening. Everybody, what would happen if I had
a barrel of crock?
A barrel of crock.
Yeah. It's like this. You got to go with it really tight clisted.
This is just a butter high right here, right? That's all.
Yeah, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize. We are obviously in a goofy mood tonight.
We're a little bit slapstick tonight, or whatever you want to call it.
Slap happy.
Yeah. Clist fenches.
Clist happy.
Whose turn is it anyway? I don't even know anymore. Next.
I'm assuming it's me since I'm on
it's you, Alan. Yeah,
I got it. I wanted to say so much more, but I ruined it with my stupidity. It's all good.
It's all good.
Awesome.
You'll have
great song, great album. Listen to it. That's all I'm going to say. What an ending!
A chance to redeem yourself. Another great album people should listen to. This one's pretty well known, but yeah, great album, man. Ends as amazingly strong. Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime ends with Eyes of a Stranger, wrapping up their huge story arc across the album. This is one of those albums that just keeps getting better with age somehow. Amazing sound and amazing performances, and the fact that they could take this rather long, somewhat complicated story and break it up into a lot of individual songs that work amazingly well on their own. You don't have to know this is the end to a 60-minute epic rock opera. It's just an amazingly good, it's a hit single, it's an MTV video, and it works fine in that context. But if you know what's going on with the song too as part of the story, it just makes it all that much better. Jeff Tate always sounded fierce, but everybody here just sounds amazing. The production's amazing on the song. I've always loved the bass sound on the tracks here. It's just, so pulsing with life, really adds another dimension to these tracks. Eyes of a Stranger, again, just, this, it's catchy, it's easy to sing along to, but it's also, got this kind of, dark sadness to it. Because this is not a happy story. We do not live happily ever after at the end of Operation Mindcrime whatsoever. So, yeah. Fantastic. How do you end one of the watershed moments of 80s heavy metal? You end it with an absolute banger of a song in Eyes of a Stranger. Great one. And trivia interesting or whatever, again, for the video they do have the song fade out at the end, so it doesn't play to completion because there's a little bit of kind of soundtrack elements at the very end, wrapping up the last little bit of the story where there's some noises, you hear the revolution and a pause, and then I remember everything, kind of fade out at the end. They don't have that on the music video for it. I guess it would have felt a little weird when you're doing the song as a standalone on MTV, but it still works fine in that context, but it works even better when you know the whole album that's going on. So yeah, Queensryche, at the height of their powers around that time, Eyes of a Stranger, brilliant way to end a brilliant album.
Bill.
Great
I'm not making the Clist joke.
I just can't believe that came out of my mouth. How did you get it so fucking twisted around? It was flinched Clist. That's ridiculous. Anyway,
List of the stranger. No.
Clist. Flinching the stranger. There you go. Sounds filthy, but
Just don't
maybe
Clist to the stranger. That's
Clist
a little blue.
yeah, it's a little blue. All right, one of my all-time favorite bands, and again, a band that would go on to influence Iron Maiden and most other melodic heavy metal bands. So, Thin Lizzy, Roshan Dub. This song. So this is Gary Moore was in and out of Thin Lizzy throughout their existence. He was good friends with them. This is the only album, the actual studio album, that he plays on with them, and this one battles for maybe my favorite. Like this one and Bad Reputation are probably the two that I go back and forth between being my favorite. But Roshan Dub it's basically like a love song to Ireland, to Irish culture. Has that really, really catchy rolling Irish melody at the beginning. The riff is a dun 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 dun, and there's a trade-off. Like the guitars trade off in like melodic harmonies back and forth. And it starts with, Phil kind of talking about, Irish folklore and everything. And then talking about like the beauty of Ireland. And then at the end, it's kind of like, he's kind of naming off different things. Like, he mentions Van Morrison. He mentions Oscar Wilde. He mentions William Butler Yeats. Even drops Drinking Whiskey in the Jar, mentioning, of course, their hit, which is a classic Irish folk song and everything. And it's just such a beautiful song with just a lot of like hills and valleys that it goes through. Awesome solo trade-offs between, Gary Moore and Scott Gorham. Like it's a total banger of a way to close an already great album. This album's got Do Anything You Want To is a great song. Gotta Give It Up, S&M, Waiting for an Alibi, which is a super catchy tune, but Roshan Dub is definitely my favorite song on that album. So a masterpiece.
Yeah, that's a great pick, Bill. If that album didn't have S&M on it, it would undoubtedly be my favorite Thin Lizzy album. That one song,
for me, the one song that doesn't do it for me is Sarah. I know he wrote it for his daughter, and that's sweet, but that song, it's just a little too cheese for me. I still love that record, even though that song kind of makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I can skip it.
Saccharine ballad, yeah.
It's a little saccharine, but it is sweet. It is genuine. I'm just a heartless bastard. I'm just a monster. So I just like, no, the song too much,
Yeah.
keep the songs about your stupid kids in the files that no one else ever sees. Yeah.
Sing it at home to your kids. Why I don't want to hear about it.
Bore your kid with your stupid song, guy.
Yeah.
I can handle Sarah's. S&M is the one that just makes me shake.
That is the song on that album I don't like. Is S&M.
That's cheesy too, but for some reason that one doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, but the rest of that album has so many bangers on it.
Incredible.
I'm not familiar with that album, but I almost did pick Emerald from Jailbreak. That's a
great song.
Emerald's a phenomenal song.
Yeah, I'm glad someone mentioned Thin Lizzy for sure.
All right, Logan.
But, Alan, I think you and I are on a similar page for sure. I'm going for another concept album from the 80s that basically perfected concept albums.
I bet. Hold on. I want to.
Are we ready?
I want to. Do you want
to do 1, 2, 3?
I didn't pull it, but I think I know what you want.
Okay, I'll let you write it down, and we can.
I'll just do real quick here. Do initials. All right, ready?
3, 2, 1.
You bastard!
Oh my God! Look at this.
Oh yeah!
Damn it,
Marty! You got to go for You got to be aggressive with this stuff, man. I'm sorry.
You got to grab it with your Clist, Marty.
Grab you guys with my Clist.
Yeah.
Oh, the twin guitar harmonies at the end of the song.
You can have this if you want, because
No,
I got.
I'll comment when you're done. When you don't say the right thing.
I have like 30 picks. Okay. Well, not only does it perfectly sum up the whole story of the album, which, by the way, I think is probably my favorite concept album outside of Operation Mindcrime. I mean, it depends on the day. They're very, very close, but it sums it up perfectly. But it has just this epic closing number that kind of keeps building. Like Andy LaRocque, man, he is a beast. He is the secret weapon for this album. He's the secret weapon for King Diamond, and he basically he runs a show at the very end of it, like a showcase of how to play guitar, like literally the melodies and what the guitar solo that plays out the album is doing. It feels ahead of its time. Like what year is this? 87? Like it's tough to find a album where the guitar melody lines are this like epic and clear and just present at the very end. And it's fantasy filled. It once again really just summons an image to your mind, and I don't know. It leaves me kind of awestruck and jaw on the floor when this album closes out. And I think that's one of the reasons why this is my favorite King Diamond album, just because of how it ends with Black Horseman, and there's that awesome like jam riff too, like a classic rock like kind of swing style riff that he plays before we get to the final guitar solo where King Diamond sings the Black Horseman over it, and then it starts to take it away. But the final couple minutes, and of course the final 2 minutes, are the best moments on this album, and some of the best music of the 80s for me, I think. So Marty, what were you gonna say?
No, the twin lead lines at the end between Denner and LaRocque is just absolutely.
See, I didn't mention Denner.
The best moment on the album. It's so I wanted more of it. I wish they would have continued it. It's such a brief little thing at the end, but I wanted it to go more.
It could have been a 10-minute song for sure if they just kept it going.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And that link up right there was like, okay, because like the Denner Sherman guitar duo is kind of like one of my favorite guitar slingers out there in metal world.
Yep. And
then to hear LaRocque come in and do a very similar thing that him and Sherman were doing, it made me say, okay, this is in good hands. It sounds the way it's supposed to be here, and it's just amazing ending to that album. Yeah.
Once again, great guitar solos and great songs all the way through, and you think you've heard the best with the Family Ghost and Omens and the Possession, but then Black Horseman just blows it all away with just the build in the final minute. So
yeah, indeed, yeah. There's a funny story about Andy LaRocque, and just the level of talent he's got that Scott Burns told in the book that David Gilkey wrote about him last year. If you haven't read the book, he's basically Scott gives thoughts on each of the albums he produced, and of course he helped Death with individual thought patterns, which Andy played on. And Andy flew over to Morrisound to do the solos and stuff. And when he came in, Scott's ready to record. He's like, okay, so which solo do you want to do first? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. What do y'all want done? And he's like, well, which ones do you have ready? He's like, I don't have anything ready. Just plug me in and we'll see how it goes. And Scott kind of freaked out because he knew that, the guitar solos tend to be one of the harder things to get recorded sometimes. A lot of guys need time to really map out what they're doing and practice it a few times to get it nailed down. And so, mentally he's like, I was thinking to myself, like, oh my God, we've spent all this money flying this guy over here. He's a new member of Death. He hasn't even written a single solo for the album. What the fuck is he doing? I'm going to waste all this time with him just dinking around, but fine, whatever. So he just and apparently Chuck kind of calmed him down a little bit. Metal brother, let him do his thing. LaRocque sat down,
he knew,
plugged in, played a solo, and just like, how was that? And Scott's like, that's good. He's like, do you think I should do it again? He's like, no, not really. That'll work just fine. He's like, I realized immediately this guy was on another level of professionalism, that he didn't need to map anything out in advance. He didn't need to think about it ahead of time. Just come in, very laid back, plug in, absolutely nail it on the first take, and be like, okay, which one next? And Scott's just like, he's just like,
Insane.
it's good. We're good. I'm sorry. I ever doubted the man. Yeah, really. I always thought that was a really cool story.
It's still my favorite moments on the album. Sorry.
Isan was in an interview and they were talking to him what his favorite guitar player was. He mentioned Annie LaRocque and said that he's a guy that doesn't play the wrong note ever. It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably my favorite guitarist too. Like he's just so classy and perfect every time.
Yep. Alrighty then. Well, speaking of, someone mentioned this in the chat a while. This is why is there writing all over your first press of Death Scream Bloody Gore? Well, it was a gold stamped promo I rescued from the local college radio station. But this ends with the title track Scream Bloody Gore, and I know it's cliche to say I prefer their first album more, but man, I love this album. It's the first Death album I heard. Got it right around a couple months after it came out, and Evil Chuck's vocals are my favorite Death, and these riffs and these songs are just absolute. It's classic for a reason. People are still talking about this band for a reason, and this is the gust of wind that set this vessel afloat for sure. And for me, whenever I want Death, this is the one I'm grabbing for. But Scream Bloody Gore, I mean, it isn't that dissimilar from the rest of the album. It really isn't. But man, it's just such a intense ending to an intense album. The way the chorus is, Reifert's tom fills during the accents when he's scream bloody gore. That it just sounds absolutely perfect. Of course, I bought the CD of this when it came out, so I had the bonus tracks, Land of No Return, and there's 2 bonus tracks on the CD, but the vinyl is the true ending, and Scream Bloody Gore, absolute classic to an absolute classic album. Love it. Evil Chuck for the win. Alan.
Nice call. I played that earlier today, actually.
Right on.
Let's see. Okay, before next pick, I have a question for everybody, but Bill in particular, since he brought up Thin Lizzy and Black Rose. I was looking at the lyrics just a moment ago to Toughest Street in Town, and I see something weird. And I'm hoping Bill or somebody else can shed light on it.
Okay.
When on at least the copy I have and I play, the second or third verse is each verse is like this different character who's down on their luck. Classic Phil line lyricism, and on the version I have, it goes, and Jack has had a hard day. No one told him it would be like this. He's had to score the hard way, and there's that trick he'll always miss. And that last line just really cuts. It really tells you that, they're just, you can't win. It's a great line. However, over here on the archives at the mothership, they have different lyrics to that verse. It still says, and Jack has had a hard day. No one told him it would be like this. He's had to score the hard way working on 20-hour shifts. Has anyone ever heard that line in a version of that song? Because I haven't.
No, I've never heard that before.
Maybe there's a different cut of that song on a different pressing.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. And maybe someone in the chat can help out with this. I've never heard a version. I mean, and I don't have, tons of, bootlegs or demos. I do have some Black Rose demos from this era of Thin Lizzy. I don't remember ever hearing that last line of that verse altered. That version is not nearly as good as, and there's that trick he'll always miss. The 20-hour shifts makes me feel like it's a Bon Jovi song or something. Working on the docks. Unions and a strike, blah, blah, blah. But if anyone in the chat is familiar with that version, knows that it's from, some different take or something, I'm just interested because I have never seen that line. When I read it on archives, I'm like, that's not right. That's not the line.
Oh, that's not what he sings on the album.
Oh, no, it's on my album. It's clear as day. He's different thing. And there's that trick he'll always miss. So, anyway, if anyone can help out with that in the chat, that would be cool. It's weird. Anyway, my next pick is Thin Lizzy related. I'm going to cheat and pick an album that ends on a cover song, which usually, you don't think of that being a highlight on the album. But here's one of the exceptions that proves the rule. There's a Thin Lizzy cover as the final track on Sinners, the Nature of Evil. not one of the better covers in heavy metal history. That werewolf art is a thing that happened.
That artist gets an A for effort.
He got a gold star in art
participation trophy.
Very bad, like collage, cut and paste sort of werewolf, but he tried.
It's a bit rough, but it's a good album overall. It kind of got centered back on the map after a lot of years of kind of low profile releases on smaller labels. But this album ends with them doing an absolutely gorgeous cover of Thin Lizzy's "The Sun Goes Down."
I love that fucking song.
It's an incredible song.
It's a great song to begin with. Matt Sinner does an amazing job on it here. He really does the song justice. And it's perfect as an album closer because it is this kind of quiet, again, moody. There's a strain of darkness and sadness to it, and it just brings the whole album to a close. Sinner overall, it's German metal that leans towards the hard rock side of things more than the power or speed metal sides. I've always kind of had a soft spot for the band. I realize they're not most folks' favorite of this genre, and most folks think of Matt Sinner more in terms of his Primal Fear output. But he's got some good albums, and he does a just killer version of "The Sun Goes Down" to close out this album. And this cover was what got me to check out Thin Lizzy for the first time. I had gotten this, really liked the song, realized it was a cover, like, people have been saying I should check out Thin Lizzy. And it's like the next time I went to a record show, I found a $3 copy of Jailbreak, picked it up, and started rapidly adding more albums after that. But yeah, this cover song is what led me to that band, which I love. But this is still a fine version as it is. In recent years, Matt still releases albums under the Sinner name, and he's had a string of albums over the last, 10, maybe 15 years, where every album it's not always a Thin Lizzy cover, but there's one or two songs that are very clearly, Thin Lizzy tribute type songs. You hear them and just like, that could have come off of like Johnny the Fox or something. Clearly a huge influence on Matt, and he's kind of gone out of his way to pay homage to Thin Lizzy with tracks on a lot of albums in recent years, which I still have a soft spot for those, and it's always cool to hear him do that. But yes, if you've never heard Sinner cover "The Sun Goes Down," it is a really, really nice job on it.
I'll have to listen to that. I'm curious to hear, somebody interpret that song. So
yeah, it's not radically different. They definitely stick pretty close to the original, but it sounds gorgeous.
Would someone please tell the creepy werewolf guy to stop looking at me? That'd be nice.
Yeah, his eyes follow you no matter where you go on the screen.
Just follow you no matter where you're
clench your clist at him and scare him off.
Just shake your clist a few times. That'll get rid of him.
Get out of here, damn werewolves! Get off my lawn.
Flench clist. God damn it.
Kids that are werewolves these days.
All right, Bill.
All right, next thing. This is going to kind of bounce off Thin Lizzy as well, because this is a band that, amongst others, is influenced by Thin Lizzy, and this is their last album, which I think is great. This is The Lord Weird, The Slow Fegs, New Organon, and the final track on this, The Cynic, is my favorite song on this album. There's a lot of great songs. This whole album is basically a concept album about kind of the evolution of scientific method and different schools of philosophical thought. The Cynic specifically is about Stoicism and Diogenes in particular. But it's got a really catchy riff that is very reminiscent of Thin Lizzy, Oh
yeah.
And, extreme, these guys, I mean, Thin Lizzy, Brockus Helm, I know they've mentioned there's an old Irish kind of folk rock band, the Horselips, that I guess are a big influence on them. I've listened to some of that too, and I can hear that. I know I've heard Mike Scalzi talk about too, like musicals and stuff, like musical theater stuff really influenced him when he was young. Werewolf,
that kind of makes sense.
Hovencliffe.
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 You bastards.
Yeah, Werewolf.
Laugh at the village idiot. Go for it. Keep it up.
Yeah. But
Clench your cloth, everybody.
Every village has an idiot.
Yeah, clench your cloth. But the Lord Weird Slow Fig, I mean, an incredible band with a bunch of
Incredible
incredible
band.
albums. Yeah, they have so many great albums. And this one, they haven't put out a full length since then. They did put out that EP. What is it, last year or earlier this year?
It was earlier this year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, their Traveler EP where they kind of call back to their
It's a little sloppy, but it's really good. It
is really good. I like the fact that it feels very natural. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel super polished. It feels like they just went in there and they banged it out and they didn't worry too much about overdubs and like everything being perfect. And you know, like it feels like they kind of almost composed some of it in the studio, and it's fun. It's fun. But yeah, The Cynic is a great send off to this phenomenal album. So check it out.
All right. Good pick. Great band. Logan.
All right. Finally, I'm actually surprised. I think I'm the first person to pull up a power metal album, unless you count Manowar. I mean,
I'm coming.
Yeah. Alan, let me know if I steal another one from you. I'm sorry if I do.
You might. I have gotten some here. Sorry.
Somewhere Far Beyond, the title
That's
track.
A good one. That's a good one.
Okay, so I did not take one from you. That's good, but
not a big one. It was in the stack, but I've got other Blind Guardians. We can definitely play off of that.
They also have great closing tracks. They're another band that knows how to close an album. I won't mention any other ones, but this one right here is my favorite of their closers. And this album was actually the last of like what I consider my favorite three, Tales up through Imaginations.
Mm-hmm.
This was like the last one of those three to kind of click with me. And yeah, this gives my favorite Blind Guardian album a run for its money. But the fact that it closes with Somewhere Far Beyond just is perfect. This is a perfect song. I even like the bagpipes. There are bagpipes in here that kind of interject right in the like 2/3 section. I think it's an epic pause right before it builds up to the final. And mainly it's because of the chorus. Like Blind Guardian knows how to write a killer chorus. They know how to layer vocals. They know how to do group vocals. And
they're German. Come on, that's their birthright.
And listen, we just talked about where is that album we just talked about? Somewhere Out in Space. It's somewhere in a stack over here. But my favorite song on that is the title track, Somewhere Out in Space, and it's because the chorus reminds me of Somewhere Far Beyond. It has the same like chant of Somewhere Far Beyond, and then Hansi comes in with his section, and they like trade off between. It's just epic. It's one of those songs that gives me goosebumps. So my favorite track on this album, and one of my top 5 Blind Guardian songs, and easily one of my favorite Blind Guardian albums. So yeah, God bless the Germans. They know how to do epic metal for sure.
They do it right.
They do it right.
Yep.
Me and the kid Alex in the chat recommended the new Hammer King drop today, so me and Parker had some running around to do. We threw on the new Hammer King, and very German and fun power metal. It was good. Enjoyed it. First time I heard that band. Good stuff. Praise Germany. All right, it's me. Okay. Well, Simon wanted more death metal, so can't believe no one's shown this yet. This is kind of like the end boss of ending death metal tracks, and that would be Left Hand Path. Oh, yeah. God damn it. I'm drawing the last song on here. This thing has got, I don't know. What a great ending to this album. Absolute. They leave you with that. You know what? Never mind. I thought the first song was the last song. Skipping it. Man, I've had a rough week this week. I'm out there. Things are coming off the rails over here. Ozzy Osbourne, Park at the Moon. Current events, all that good stuff. But we obviously just been talking about this guy a lot and been listening to a lot of his stuff. And everybody's always picking the first 2 albums, but I really like this one. And Waiting for Darkness. It's kind of a weird, kind of proggy song, but it's got kind of a creepy vibe to it too. The way Ozzy's vocal harmonies are over it, he was really good at picking out the harmonies on these more complex. He did a lot for Sabbath, and on this track, Waiting for Darkness, it's a good closing. I always like just the whole presentation of this whole album is just absolutely cool. But yeah, I just took the right-hand path. I don't know. I am all screwed up, dude. Seriously.
Speaking of goofy-looking werewolves on the covers.
Yeah. Except he looks way better than the Sinner one for sure.
I don't know. That's
the same eyes.
Coin flip.
They do have the same eyes.
Maybe they're checking each other out, like, marking their turf.
Yeah.
Who would win in a fight is what I wonder.
I have no idea why I thought the lead-off track was the last track on the. Like I said, when I started picking for tonight, my mind, I had ideas and they all just, it was like a blank slate. It was very strange. Anyway.
It's okay to go with Mark at the Boone, Marty. Yeah. No one minds.
Yep. Mark at the Boone.
You didn't go with Little Dolls tonight, so we're making progress.
Yeah, I'm going to just go regroup here. Alan.
All right. Yeah, let's play off of Logan's Blind Guardian pick. Of all the bands I looked through their catalogs this week for this topic, I chose more Blind Guardian albums with killer closing tracks than any other band. More than Maiden, more than Priest, just album after album after album on Blind Guardians. It's like, that's a killer closer song, and that's a killer closer song, and that one's a killer closer song. So yes, everything Logan said about Somewhere Far Beyond is absolutely true. But again, yeah, plenty of other great ones too. The one I'll show here for Blind Guardian Mark II is the closing track to Imaginations from the Other Side, which is called And the Story Ends. And this album's a little different. It was the first time Blind Guardian started to really slow down a bit. Somewhere Far Beyond, were letting off the gas some and playing up the symphonics a bit. But with this album, there was a much less of an emphasis on speed. And it was kind of divisive when it came out. A lot of people did not appreciate, the lack of velocity on this album. It took me several spins to get into when I first got this one back upon its release. But it was one of those albums where each time I played it, I was like, well, the first time I was like, there's one song that stood out. So let me replay it. And after that, I was like, oh, now there's two songs that stand out. And after the third spin, I was like, picked up another one. Now there's three good tracks I really click with here. So it was kind of a slow build, but it's to the point where it's arguably my favorite in their catalog. Fantastic album. The album has some, again, a little bit of a darkness and a sadness to a lot of the songs. These aren't your happy, joy, pumpkins everywhere kind of power metal. A lot of these songs, are filled with a bit of sadness, a bit of regret. And the story ends, really just, again, it's not a end ends happily ever after. It's just like, show's over, folks. Curtain is down, lights are out, punched your ticket. Sorry it didn't work out better, but it's done. So, but it's done in this, again, very majestic and kind of bombastic way that if you're not paying a lot of attention maybe to the lyrics and such, you might just kind of get caught up in the melodies and everything that's going on and not quite realize, oh, wait, they're saying it's all coming to an end kind of over, not the yay, look at it, we reached the end. Blind Guardian absolutely knows how to end an album. All those albums in that classic streak that Logan mentioned, every one of them has an amazing closing song. Neither of us even mentioned probably the most anthemic one, which is, I'll jump ahead for that one.
Last Candle? No,
Valhalla. All the Blind.
That is a closer, right?
It is a closer because the ones after that are bonus tracks. Yep.
I don't own that CD, so
Yeah, and that's the problem with Blind Guardian. Different CD pressings have different bonus tracks at the end. But yeah, Valhalla is technically the closer to Follow the Blind, and it is to this day one of the absolute staples of their live set. Oh, yeah. Somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, like they'd never heard so many people singing along to so many songs as at a Blind Guardian show, and that is very true. And Valhalla, no matter how long the band lets it roll, and they can, this is one they'll let it stretch out.
It's a 30-minute song when they play live. Yeah, it's half their set.
And the crowd will never let up.
Yep.
The crowd will repeat it as many times as the band is willing to let them.
It's a perfect song.
It really is one of those just perfect power metal songs. But yeah, and the story ends, a fantastic way to close a really excellently crafted album, even if it is kind of a deviation from what the band had did in the past. Blind Guardian has the most top-notch closing songs I could find, bar none.
I started with Nightfall, Middle Earth, so going back to that album, I was like, it's faster, thank God, and there's no interlude tracks, because that was always an issue with me in Nightfall, or still is an issue.
Nightfall, I mean, it's obviously it's a concept album on a very tough concept to cover, and they do it brilliantly. But it does require the album to be built in a weird way. Yep.
Yeah.
Poor Bill's got that. Oh, these power metal nerds on his face.
No,
I'm not a nerd.
Nerd.
How dare you call me a nerd? I have the first 2 Blind Guardian records. I do like Leading the Blind and what is it, Troops of Fear or
Italians of Fear.
Italians of Fear.
And that's got a killer closing track on it.
Yeah. I like both those records actually.
They're kind of speed metal-y.
Yeah, they've got that speed metal vibe, and I do like those. So yeah.
Yep.
Italians of Fear. Yeah, those are the only 2 I have. I've heard other ones, and I like them well enough, but I just don't get in the mood to hear Blind Guardian a lot. So
it's okay.
Hang around with us, you'll see the light. Look at poor Logan. He came in here with his bong creeper bands, and now he's like buying. He's willingly buying Gamma Ray, and
now his fists are clenched tight around the power metal. Hey, wait, no, I did it right. Damn,
you did it right. Damn you!
Shit, I didn't mess it up.
All right, Bill.
All right, Simon wanted some death metal, so we're going to go into a block of death metal here. I think. Pretty much everything else I'm going to show is either going to be death metal or black metal, but we'll go with the death metal first. So, I like a lot of stuff that's stupid and knuckle dragging and window licking. I like that as much as anybody else. So I had to have that represented.
Yeah,
the window licking death metal. So we got some Mortician. Lord of the Dead. Lord of the Dead.
Wrong channel, brah.
Yeah, I know.
I kid.
I know. Justin's gonna come on. I do love Mortician. I love how absolutely moronic and just how most of the songs you'll have a minute and a half sample, and then the song's 30 seconds long. Lord of the Dead, though, actually, the sample is far shorter. You have a Phantasm sample at the beginning and the end, and it's a good throttling, beat your face in, death metal drum machine track. So I do like Mortician. I'm glad they're finally getting their due. I mean, Maggot Stomp should probably be paying them royalties, and probably should have been paying them royalties for the entirety of that label's existence. There's a lot of shitty death metal now that's kind of ripping off Mortician. At first, it was kind of novel, but it's run its course. This is, if you want to, they're the OGs of it. You might as well just listen to them and forget all the pretenders. There you go. Lord of the Dead, though, I think it's a great way to end an album that's more horror samples than music. So there you go. So starts the death metal. Here we go.
All right, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep it moving along. Let's do some black metal now. I know, Marty, you had Summoning, but I'm going to take it into from the 80s and the 90s. We're going to the 2000s and to America. Cascadian black metal, Wolves in the Throne Room, Two Hunters. I mean, for a lot of people, this is the ultimate Wolves album. And for me, it is. I mean, Diadem comes close, Diadem of 12 Stars, but I prefer this one, and it's largely, probably mainly because of the opener, the Arcto, into how the album starts off, but then how it closes is it just clinches the deal. Start strong, close stronger. That's what you do, and I will lay down my bones among the rocks and roots. Is a phenomenal closing track. It's 18 minutes long. It's kind of enchanting. It's meditative, a lot of repetition. It really does build throughout it, and I think the drums play a large part in what happens in these 18 minutes, because it does go from like the blistering black metal to this more tom forward and like kind of more bass drum and bass oriented section that really builds, and it has just this epic melody that pushes the album to a close. And yeah, great song to a great album, and one I don't pull out as much as I should, but yeah, whenever I get to, I will lay down. It's always worth the trip, and the 18 minutes is worth the trip for sure. So, and it's a beautiful, just an outdoor album. Like it feels like being outside in the American wilderness. And that's one thing about black metal. Like I feel like I'm missing something with like all of the more European centric, just ice everywhere bands, but something about the Cascadian scene feels a bit more at home with me, and I'm more at peace, like listening to the sound of like a fire clacking, or burning down the tinder and stuff, than whatever's going on in Norway, which is all good and all, but I do enjoy this album, and Wolves is great. So
yeah, really good pick, Logan.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I'm still on the old fart kick here, but another one of my favorite albums of all time, Rainbow Rising.
Great album.
Oh my God, such a great album. And Stargazer should have ended this album, but it didn't. It ended it with a Light in the Black, which is more of a rollicking fun track. It sounds, Richie Blackmore, this is kind of he wanted, kind of getting back at Deep Purple, I guess. And this is a Light in the Black, sounds a lot like Deep Purple to me, with Dio singing on it. But Dio really takes this fun track and he makes it better. He really colorizes it. His vocal performance is light, but when he gets into the chorus, they layer his voice over itself for the chorus. So really is a very uplifting chorus, a lot of energy on it. And of course that the Hammond solo in the middle of the song is killer. The Hammond organ shit. It's just Richie Blackmore's take on Deep Purple, which of course he was a part of. But this album is such a classic. And if you listen to anything on this, you got to listen to Stargazer. It's one of the best songs ever written, to be honest. That would have been my choice for the closer, but got Terror Woman on here, man. You got to have the woman that did you wrong. Run with the Wolf. Love that song. I love this whole song. Do You Close Your Eyes? It's goofy, but I love it. It's just, I'm probably going to listen to it tonight. Hell with it. After this is done, I'm going to listen to that record. So good. Bring the kid down and listen to it. He's discovered Dio now, so we're unlocking all these other. It's great. It's steamrolling here. He's getting into the more and more of the classics. He even kind of liked that Summoning album too. I was listening to it in the car with the other day. I couldn't believe it. He's like, "This is pretty good." I'm like, the world of metal is yours to conquer. Come and pilfer my collection. It's going to be yours someday. Get it. Start listening. Enjoy it. So yeah, what a great album. I'm sidetracked. Anyway, back to the Professor.
All right. I'm going to deviate for a moment and pick something very new that has an amazing closing track to it. I mentioned it a few weeks ago when Simon and Melanie joined us for our favorites of 2025 so far. One of the albums that was pretty high on my list has an absolutely divine closing track. It's a great album, but the closing track just is leagues ahead of everything else. It's the closing track to the new Gall's Weird album. The album's called Braiding the Stories. Looks like somebody forgot to braid their hair on the cover. I don't really like the cover very much. But obviously, Norwegian stuff that's drifting out of metallic territory. It's one of those kind of weird post-black kind of things. But it's not shoegazy. It's not just echoey. It's not, happy melodic sounding. It's got a lot of progressive elements to it, but not in a overly technical or arrogant or pretentious way. It's actually got a very natural, warm feeling to it. The closing track is called Flowing Starlight, And if you are a fan of any of, sort of the classic post-punk bands that came especially out of the UK in the late 70s and early 80s, you should at least play this one song because it clearly takes its inspirations from those types of things. Thinking bands like Joy Division, the Chameleons, all of that stuff. It's a superbly written song, absolutely gorgeous. The guitar work is divine. It's song of the year. It probably won't be, album of the year. There's a Have a Crew New album that's in the way. It's going to cock block it pretty hard. But Flowing Starlight will be song of the year, I think. It's hard to imagine a band releasing something else that gorgeous sounding. And again, it's a rich album, even though it's got a lot of progressive leanings. It's not a particularly hard album to get into. This isn't something you have to spend 20 concerted listens to start to decipher. Again, it's a pretty open sounding album for something that's actually put together by very skilled musicians trying to do something ambitious, but they don't make it sound like they're trying to do something ambitious, which is pretty cleverly played. But yes, definitely check out Flowing Starlight if you like those. Again, there's kind of just classic British jangly guitar moments. Run that through the Norwegian post black metal filter, and you get something that is really breathtaking. And the song's only a few months old, so we get killer closing tracks even on the new stuff.
I need to check that out. You've been giving it pretty high praise. I need to visit it for sure.
It's it's an interesting album. You may like it, you may not. It's not going to be for everybody, but I think they do a lot of things right that many bands in that style tend to do wrong. So it really caught my attention.
Wade is asking, is it still heavy?
Some of the songs on it are heavy. There are songs where
it's like
there's
60-40.
That definitely, but it's let me see, the previous track, Root the Will, has very heavy riffage to it. It's much more aggressive. There's one other Time and Timeless Timeline.
Yes. How that song closes is amazing.
Yep, that song, is really nicely done. A lot of the middle of the album, it still is good songs, but they definitely spend a little time on the middle tracks getting a bit more ambient. So you've got a good opening track, then this heavier track, then a few that they kind of let the atmosphere breathe for a while. Then there's a heavy track with Root the Will, and then you just have this burst of starlight to end the album with. It's a really nicely constructed album. So Wade, it's not the heaviest thing in the world. Like I said, it's kind of metal adjacent, starting to straddle the line outside of the metal boundaries a bit, but it has its heavy moments, and it's if you can appreciate those kind of albums, it's really well done. Logan knows what I'm talking about, so big cheers to Logan.
Yes, it's a highlight for me. It does wander a little bit in the middle, I think, and in the beginning too. It's very quiet, but when it hits, it hits very strong. So I'm a little still on the fence about it, but I agree about the closing song though.
Yeah, it is. If anybody's familiar with the first album from Gall's Weird or his work with Trelldom, I don't know that stuff very well, but I'm told this one is much more accessible, or at least easy to get into compared to like what he's done with Trelldom in recent years. So if you tried Trelldom and it was just a little too dense or complicated, this might be a better starting point.
All right, Bill.
All right, we'll continue the death metal train here. So, classic band. Simon mentioned one of their albums earlier, and that is a great closer, but I picked one of the later ones because I think this is a great closer, and it's an underrated record here, I think, too, is The God That Never Was by Dismember, and the final song, Where No Ghost Is Holy, has a great kind of Iron Maiden sounding intro.
As they went, they really embraced that Iron Maiden side of it. I dig that.
The album after this, in particular, the one that's self-titled or untitled, depending.
That's their latest album, essentially. It's a great record. Yeah,
that album, I think they embrace it, and it's awesome. This was also the last album that Fred was on. I mean, now he's back in the band, and they're going to put out a new record. I don't know, but this album I think is phenomenal, and that track. I mean, again, it's a kind of a classic anti-Christian, anti-God song, but it really drives home this album as, as being one of their catchier later records. Because the album before this, Where Iron Crosses Grow, I don't love that album. I mean, I still like it because I love Dismember, but that's probably my least favorite album by them. But I think this one really ramps it up, and this and then the last record are phenomenal with that more melodic approach. So, and the artwork, you got the Dan Seagrave artwork on this one too, which is fantastic. So yeah, Where No Ghost Is Holy. Check out that song and check out this album. Dismember can do no wrong, in my opinion. So
they really haven't had a misstep. I mean,
no, they never put out a record that stuck.
Massive Killing Capacity for a minute I thought kind of sucked, but it grew on me over the years.
Yeah,
it was their whole Get Groovy like Entombed did era where all the bands were doing that. But
yeah, there are some really good songs on there, like Despair and Other Shape of Sorrow, or Collection by Blood,
Closed Casket Graveyard,
or
Garden. What is that?
Casket Garden, Casket Garden,
Casket Garden.
There's a lot of really good songs on there too, so can't go wrong.
Right on. Logan.
All right, we're in the modern era now. I got my classic picks out of the way, and now I'm going with a album that might be alien to some people out there. From the same year that the Wolves album came out, 2007, we're kind of veering into the core and Prog. Between the Buried and Me, this is their 2007 album, Colors, and this band is one of the biggest bands of the 2000s for the modern. Whatever metal became in the 2010s, it owes a lot to, for better or worse, Colors. And it's progressive. It's still fairly aggressive, but also encompasses a bit of like a hardcore, metalcore kind of sound, which could, turn some people off from enjoying it. But to me, the songwriting is still there. The album writing is definitely here. I mean, this album is an hour and 4 minutes long. But it pulls it off, and it's kind of a maze of just this winding deathcore, metalcore, like metal, definitely metal stuff. But then these beautiful progressive moments will just come in and open up the song into ways you never thought it could. And then we get to the final track, White Walls, and it just does it in the most spine-chilling, epic way possible. It really just keeps, the whole album is just building to the final like 5 minutes of this song, and it's all worth it. The whole hour leading up to the final 5 minutes of White Walls is worth it, just to hear the guitar melodies, the drum performance. The drum performance by Blake Richardson is top notch. It's amazing. The fills, how he builds the crescendos. And the guitar the whole time is matching. The bass is matching. It's a perfect outro instrumental for this album. I listened to it today. Got chills, man. I was like in the middle of my work day with the headphones on, just not working, just staring at my screen, doing nothing, and vibing out to White Walls. What a epic song. It's amazing. Like it had like the parts where Blake is singing on it is perfect too, but it's all about the instrumentation at the very end. So yeah, brilliant songwriting, great album overall, and hugely influential to where kind of metal went for a couple years, and just showcased how, how many amazing musicians there were out in like the late 2000s and early 2010s. So Between the Buried and Me.
Right on. I am next, and I think I'm going to go this route first. All right. For an overkill, we end with Black Death, which, isn't the fastest song on the album, but it's got a really good plod to it. Your Senseless Way of Lust, condemning the masses. Condemning or commanding, I don't know, but anyway, I love this album. This to me is, man, it might be my favorite Destruction album, but I just really like the way the album kind of ends on more of a plodding thrash note. What a great cover too, just timeless imagery, and it looks so very 80s. They did it right. But there really isn't a bad song on this whole album. Just rips, super evil, super German, and it's kind of funny too because they close this album with more of a plodding, subdued sounding track, but the next album is way more complex, and you would think the last track kind of is a carryover to the next with an indicator what the next album could be, but it's just, Eternal Devastation is just way more. The riffs are busier, they're a little bit more ferocious sounding. Of course, the production is just bizarre, but yep, I had to pick an older thrash album, and this one kind of jumped off I listened to this a couple of weeks ago, just a mandatory every once in a while spin for these guys, and so good. Black Death, good ending. And Alan is back.
All right, I'll do a little US thrashy power trad metal here. This is another band that really nailed the closing track on several of their albums, especially the early albums. It's Iced Earth. This is the debut album, and it ends on a real sinister song called When the Night Calls. So this one just has like a really dark, kind of sinister vibe to it. I love the way the vocalist just kind of sneers out, the song title, when the night falls, when the moon is full. It really, really one of those just good, creepy kind of moments. Again, it's a faster song. They've got, decent speed throughout the album, but just had this undercurrent of darkness that really made early Iced Earth stand out from other bands that were active at the time. There weren't other bands in the US doing anything like this. Really not a lot of other bands in Europe either. They kind of stood out, which at the time kind of held them back. They were a little out of step with what was popular. And so it took a while for, Iced Earth to get over the hump. But they, of course, got there, have had a long career since. I really love these early albums, though, where they just sound, really hungry, really, pissed off, really out to prove something. They've got a chip on their shoulder. Iced Earth went through, multiple vocalists. The first three albums all have different singers on them. And, of course, everyone, associates, Matt Barlow with the band, who is great. I love his performance on, the third album, Burnt Offerings. But the guys on these first two albums are often kind of written off as not being that great. I think both of them sounded terrific for the style of material that they did on these two albums. For example, later on, once Barlow was in the band and they started putting When the Night Falls into the live set, they restructured it and it doesn't sound nearly as good. When Barlow sings it, they play it in a way where it's more like, when the night falls, he's trying to do like this big dramatic moment. Like, dude, you're completely ruining that song. That is not what that song's trying to convey. It's got this real dark underground seething kind of madness to it. It's not meant to be this big thing. It was during their Spawn era. They were getting a bit gothy and melodramatic. I don't care for that era of Iced Earth as much. But it's just a good way. It highlights how much better the song was originally, and an excellent way to send off this self-titled album that went pretty overlooked. I could just as easily have picked Travelin' Stygian, the closing track from Night on the Storm Rider, another one that has that same kind of vibes. On this original one, it's dark, it's haunting. It kind of wraps up this kind of loose conceptual story. When they started playing it live years later with Barlow, it becomes again, it's like travel and Stygian. He tries to make it into this big buildup. It's like, that's not what the song needs. It's dark. And the way they redid it really changed those songs. But yeah, Iced Earth absolutely knew how to close these albums with a bang. Even we won't get back to this at the pace we're on. Even the big closing, like 18-minute epic Dante's Inferno to wrap up Burnt Offerings is a majestic piece. It's probably the highlight of their career for me. So yeah, any of these early Iced Earth albums, one reason they're so great is they knew how to close an album strong.
I want to throw in there. I like Dark Saga a lot.
Fair
very
enough.
Early on. A Question of Heaven is a great closer. It's I'm gonna say for the Spawn album, I think that's a good way to close it out.
I haven't played that one in forever. The album never really connected with me. I have a poster of the Dark Saga artwork over here off to the left, but
awesome art.
Oh yeah. But, it's an awesome art. It was a cool concept. I was very glad that it helped the band break through.
Big time. That was a big album for them.
Yeah. Yes, that was a very big album for them. It got them on the radar finally, and they deserved it. Very much, as soon as they got on the radar, they lost that hunger for me. They never quite had that viciousness that those first 3 albums had, and that is what always set them apart. There are some of the later albums I like, but nothing measures up to the first 3 for me. But no, for folks like Logan that dig the Dark Saga, that's cool. Absolutely no problem with it.
Thanks, Peter, for the super chat. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, saw that, Peter. Sorry, I was rambling too much about Asteroids, but really do appreciate the donation there.
And thanks for joining us. Bill.
All right, Marty started to talk about this band earlier. I'm picking a different album, though. I'm not the biggest fan of this album, but I do
get the track listing right. Get the track listing right.
the track listing.
God dang it! Something's wrong with me.
You're good. You're good, man. We're all having a good time. That's all that matters. We're having a good time. All right, but Entombed, Wolverine Blues, Out of Hand. I really like the song Out of Hand, especially the first line when he's like, "Fools gather round to watch me bleed." He's talking about Jesus, and that's what he's speaking from the point of Jesus. Like, I think it's hilarious. And it's him kind of talking about just the foolishness of like a lot of Christians and the whole, like, I don't know, just people being obsessed with Jesus. Like, it's catchy. It still has more of a death metal feel, I think, than some of the songs on here. And it just kind of has a pounding, punch you in the face feel. A great way to end this album. It's an underrated song, I mean, I feel like this album is, I don't hate this album.
I love that album. I thought I like it better than Clandestine, actually.
Yeah, I like the song Wolverine Blues. I like a lot, and I like Out of Hand, and there's a few others. Hollow Man's pretty good, but there's a few. But then there's some like I feel like Full of Hell is kind of boring. That song,
Full of Hell's awesome.
I mean, to each their own. I don't know. There's some songs I really like, and then some songs I'm like meh. But Out of Hand, I think that song fucking is a good punch in the face. So that's a great ending to that song, and it's pretty much the last Entombed record that I like. You know what I mean? That I own. I only own the first 3 and the EPs and stuff that came before Wolverine Blues. So pretty spotty after Wolverine Blues for me.
Fair.
Right on, Logan.
All right. Going more modern now, from 2007, we go to 2013. Guys, the best comeback album ever. You talked about it. Surgical Steel. Well, I mean, a Halloween album did happen that Marty might, would say rivals this one, but
well, Halloween
never really broke up, so
they never went
that's
away.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, well,
the second, that's the second best. The best comeback album ever is "Oh Martha" by The Accused.
I would agree with that. That album.
I haven't heard that.
Perfect fucking album. Anyway, go ahead. That's a great album. We're not just shitting your Wheaties, but go ahead.
Hey, man. It's one of the themes of the night, So go with it. Surgical Steel, though, it's just, to me, the best of everything that Carcass did from, probably not quite Reek, but definitely Symphonies on. They kind of just meshed everything together, even some Swan Song stuff, and put it all into a blender, and it just spat out great songs. I was listening to it again this week, and I listened to it when you guys reviewed the Carcass discography with Decibel Guy, and you guys definitely did justice to this album. I do think it's phenomenal. You guys are kind of making the claim that it's only as good because it followed up Swan Song, which is such a downer. But I think on its own, not even considering Swan Song, it's just a great 9 out of 10 album. And one of the reasons why is because it ends on one of the highlights, Mount of Execution, which is just a different style of song that Carcass has never really written before. It it sounds a bit like more of a heavy metal track, kind of just how they structure the riffs. It flows from one like heavy metal oriented riff to another, and yeah, how it ends is on a very epic note, and it makes you want to spin it again and get all the highlights of the melody, the brutality, and then get back to Mount of Execution, where it just summed it all up perfectly. So yeah, Mount of Execution is definitely the best song on this album for me, and one of the reasons why I value this comeback album as highly as I do. So,
Seems like from the chat, we definitely need to do a night on comeback albums. Folks definitely picking up on that that idea of Logan's and starting to run with it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we haven't done it yet.
Well, we haven't. We've talked about it. It has come up once or twice, but yep. We'll have to put that on the short list.
The question is how many like truly great ones are there out there?
Yeah.
You guys
it would probably just have to be a
guess.
discussion of comeback albums, period, and cover the great ones and also maybe cover the flops.
The not so great
Good,
ones.
bad, and ugly. Yeah.
There you go.
Of all.
Yep.
Speaking of, New Corner track was today. So
Marty, somebody was asking in the chat just a minute or two ago if you had any thoughts on that New Corner track.
I listened to it once and was surprised. I was expecting Grin Part 2, and if that was the case, I would have been no thanks. But no, I listened to it. I enjoyed it. That was good. I like the cover art too. I think I have high hopes for the New Corner now. Before, and I keep hearing, the band talking about how much they kind of saw Grin as where they wanted to be and where they wanted to go, and I'm just like, oh no, what are you saying? Stop. But no, it's good. I'm encouraged for sure.
Yep. A quick shout out here. Siegel's the second person tonight to mention Crocus's Russian Winter. Brian mentioned it earlier in the chat, and yeah, that is a badass closing track.
What album is that on?
It's Headhunter.
Okay, the only Crocus I've ever owned was Blitz, the Blitz on cassette, which I enjoyed, but I didn't hang on to it.
Headhunter's a good album. It's got some cool tracks on it. It's the other one you tend to see around a lot with the metallic skull looking thing.
You can't go to a record store or a record show and not see at least 5 Crocus albums. They're one of those bands that have kind of got everywhere, but no one ever talks about. It's weird.
Well, here's the chance. Aaron wants to know.
Yeah.
Crocus album.
That'd be interesting. They have a much longer discography than most folks realize. They've stuck around and put out a lot of albums over time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, probably not at the top of the list to dive deep on, Aaron. Maybe we get around to that sometime.
Oh boy, I may be sick for that one. We'll see.
Get a bad case of the Crocus that night.
Yeah.
I got the Crocus. I can't make it to the show. Sorry.
Yeah.
My clinch is just too flinched up to stream tonight. I can't make it. You have to carry on without me.
I'll never live this one down. Okay. Week in the Guardian ends with the beautiful Exodus track.
I figured you'd pick this up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are 2 songs on here that really get me every time, and it's Guardian and Exodus. The end of side A and the end of side B. So they got 2 closers on here that are just absolutely perfect. And yeah, John Arch, I think people are more in tune with what Ray Alder did. Obviously, they had a much longer career with Ray. They went more proggy as they went, a lot more commercial excess. Fates Warning at this point sounded like a Metal Blade band from the 80s. And even though John Arch's voice is amazing, he had a propensity to cram every second of the music with lyrics. But he's kind of like Keith Dean from Holy Terror. He found a way to make it melodious and impactful. And on Exodus, this is kind of like the climactic end of this amazingly beautiful and atmospheric album. It's just a very emotional track. His vocal performance in the chorus in particular is enchanting, as goofy as that sounds to say. But it just kind of it leaves you on a very emotional climactic point, and And this is one of those, I hear that song and I'm starting the album over every time. I don't spin this album as much as I used to, but when I do play it, it's 2 or 3 times in a row. And part of it is nostalgia, but it's just for me the high point of this band's career. And I always used to get so irate when I would read Jim's interviews after here, just kind of discrediting the first 3 Fates Warning records, because he had obviously moved on to a more, progressive and mature point. He sees them as juvenile, but man, what an amazing album. And they leave you, the final John Arch track is out, track and album is just an absolute beautiful statement, man. It's just absolutely amazingly epic and beautiful metal from the 80s. Love it. Very nostalgic record for me, and it'll be forever a favorite for sure. That brings us back to Alan.
All right. Oh, short but to the point one for thrash classics. We haven't mentioned Apocalyptic City from
that's
Testament
such a great record.
Legacy.
Yeah.
Yep,
The
yep.
best.
I have
They've never
underrated
been
this
that
album
good.
in the past.
They've never
Yep.
been that good again. I'm sorry. I hate to be
I
that
agree.
guy, but
It's probably my second favorite Testament, but I can't really argue your point whatsoever. I wouldn't try. I have underrated this album in the past simply because it wasn't one I got during those prime thrash years. It didn't cross my path until a bit later, so at the time I just wasn't into it. But yeah, great album. But yeah, Apocalyptic City, fantastic way
great.
to close this one out. And of course, a big staple. It sounds great on their live recordings in the live set. So it definitely became one of the anthems for the band over time, and rightfully so. It's a banger of a track. I'm not going to belabor it. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it, and I think just about everybody would agree that it deserves to be on this list. Apocalyptic City, off of Testament's debut, The Legacy.
Great pick. Fully agree. What an
Yeah.
amazing, every song on that album is great. It's just a perfect Barry a thrash record. Great American thrash record.
Yep. Do you think, I will try not to sideline us, if that album had come out 2 years earlier, because it didn't come out till 87. I mean, Testament was around, but they were a little late to the album release stage. If that album came out in 84 or 85, would they be considered one of the big 4 of thrash instead of honorable mention to that list? What do folks think?
Well, I think more likely, yeah, because I mean, that's their most unique sounding album. I think after that they kind of find a sound that works, but it's a little more uniform sound. If you catch my drift, like the Testament records, the rest of their stuff up until maybe like the Ritual, their albums all kind of have a similar feel.
Yep.
And then after they kind of incorporate some of the death metal elements, but then those albums all have kind of a similar feel, where they kind of morph into that, Testament with a somewhat more modern feel. I mean, their albums are good
a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, their albums are good, but they kind of become a bit interchangeable. That's the only. I feel like the Legacy is the only one that isn't interchangeable. Nothing else they did sounds exactly like that.
You're probably right, but I'm a little bit of an Anthrax fan myself, and I don't know. I'm kind of glad that a East Coast band ended up being represented in the Big Four. So, but you probably are right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they would or not. I mean, Anthrax, let's face it, a lot of the Big Four is sales figures, and Anthrax definitely, has the sales figures on Testament. But yeah, I just, one of those random parallel universe questions that I like to throw out there sometimes.
But they were on album 4, right? Or 3? Sorry, in 87. Sorry, Marty.
No.
Yeah,
Anthrax.
Anthrax already
on
had
album 3.
Yeah,
4 maybe. It was when was State of Euphoria? 88, 87?
I think Among the Living was 87, right?
Okay. Yep. So they might have already been on State of Euphoria by 88 because 90 is Persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of those other bands I think just had such a head start. Testament couldn't have caught them if that was if there was a contest there. I think they just gave up too much of a head start.
Yeah, for me, like you said, Alan, that basically what constitutes the Big Four is sales. And if Testament put that album out a few years earlier, would it it would have been a contender. I look at like the legacy. I think it's better than Slayer South of Heaven. I think it's better than Hell Awaits. I know that's probably blasphemous to say. Is it as good as Show No Mercy or Rain and Blood? I don't know. It's probably right on par with those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yep.
Man, it's a hard.
Yeah.
That album was huge when it came out, though. For me, I mean, I wore that tape out. I couldn't wait to get the CD when CDs started happening. It was one of the first CDs I bought.
Cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah, it just had to, that was one that had to be upgraded for sure.
Yeah.
But,
I think I agree with you. I think it's good enough that it could have held its own against those other albums that were coming out, in 84, 85, 86. And then Testament would have had a chance to, maybe be, on par and maybe rack up the fan base to challenge and have some of those sales figures, but maybe not. I don't know.
But I think the bands like Anthrax and Megadeth, I think they had more of a consistency and they steamrolled, where Testament, they kind of shot their shot early on. I mean, I love the New Order, but it sounds like a rushed album, and it really kind of was a rushed album. The label wanted something fast, and they kind of, it's shorter, and there's some a cover on there, and Practice What You Preach was a big album, but it was more, they were right in line. They could have been a big four band with what they did stylistically, but I think their best album was their debut. I mean, I still liked all those others, but
yeah, I feel like Souls in Black almost sounds like a Metallica ripoff a little too much. Like that album.
That's how I feel about the
like it almost,
What You Preach.
They almost jump on the Metallica bandwagon because Metallica was getting so big, where they're like, and I don't know if that's them or their label being like, you guys are from the Bay Area, you should try to be more like this,
Yeah.
Yep. And CBN, we could have this kind of discussion too about Bonded by Blood if they got that out in late 83 or early 84, when they were obviously very active. But once again, they were just a little late out of that starting gate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. Yeah. Good food for thought.
Sorry to derail, but those kind of things. Yep.
Big
I'm always interested in people's opinions on those kind of what if scenarios.
Yeah.
But
all right.
let's get Bill back up here front and center for
Bill.
his next pick.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
You're good. All right, we're staying in Sweden here, and here's a masterpiece and the best thing this band has done, and the great closer. So you got In Flames, Jester Race, Dead God in Me.
Oh my God, I love that album.
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah, and this, I mean, it's a great album. I mean, there's nothing but amazing tracks on here, from the Jester's Dance and Dead Eternity, all that stuff. But I mean, Dead God in Me, it's one of those, again, epic songs. I think it's like a 7-minute song, and it ebbs and flows. Starts out, really fast and melodic and punishing, and then it has the really awesome instrumental break kind of that fills up like the middle to, part of it and everything like that. And that kind of fades out, comes back in, the reprise to the kind of intro riff and stuff like that. And like, obviously this is as good as In Flames gets, I think. I mean, they, Colony and Horacle are still good, but they just don't seem to reach the heights of songwriting that this album does, And then Clayman, I mean, it has a few good songs, but it's getting very commercial. And after that, they become more and more commercial, to the point now you can't even recognize them as being almost the same band anymore. There's very little left of that DNA. I mean, there's really none of the original members left in the band anymore either. So totally different. But yeah, Dead God in Me is a phenomenal closer to a phenomenal album.
Yeah, good pick. And you're absolutely right. People made that big hubbub about the last In Flames album being a return to form.
Not really.
And I made the mistake of listening to it and just like, what are you talking about? This is have these people even heard Jester Race or early stuff, which they may not have. I had one of those old man moments a couple of years ago, out at a store, and he was just playing cards. Some guys at the next table over, one of them had on an In Flames shirt. So like, later in the night, folks milling around, just like, hey, cool shirt. I saw that band, the first time they toured the US, back in 99. And the guy just looked at me and blinked a couple times. He's like, I wasn't even born in 99. I'm just like, nice chatting with you. I'll just be over there now. It's like, dude, you're wearing the band's shirt and you clearly don't know a damn thing about their history.
Probably likes the modern kind of like new metal, whatever.
And that's cool. But yeah, it was just one of those things. Just like, holy crap! I saw this band before this kid was born. I mean, he's not a kid. He's a 20-year-old dude. Here playing cards for the night. Weird.
Yeah, it makes you feel old, doesn't it? Where you realize that there's an entire generation that doesn't even, you're like the grandpa to or like it's like, shut up, Dad. This is my In Flames, not your In Flames.
Back in my day, In Flames didn't
I don't know
suck.
all that weird Swedish folk crap that they, that old stuff sucks, Yeah.
It's mellow dad death.
Mellow dad.
I agree, Human Falafel. The new Halo effect is great. It
is better than In Flames, and it's better than new In Flames and new Dark Tranquility. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
It is Logan's turn.
Great pick,
Bill.
I love that album. So good. Talk about an album full of riffs and emotion and great songs. Oh, yeah. Great album.
Yeah. Keep it a little modern. That dude you met at Cards probably knows this album. Probably this is the only Behemoth album he knows. The Satanist. If you told him they were a black metal band, he'd probably be like, well, this is their debut. But I don't know. I have a tough time with Behemoth. This is the only one that's really clicked with me, and it's an epic, like, it just feels like the summation of all their parts with a little bit sprinkled in new and exciting. And they kind of took it and ran with it from there and kind of ran it into the ground, in my opinion. But the Satanist is a peak in their discography, and the real peak and pinnacle is the closing song, "O Father, O Satan, O Son." They really try something entirely different and nail it. It's really that just religious aspect that hounds this band. They channel it and they make a truly religious song about Satan. I mean, it's slow, it's epic, it builds. The guitar work is melodic and kind of powerful. The guitar solo is amazing, and Nurgle's lyrics are perfect. I mean, if you were a fan of metal of any sort in 2014 when this came out, you knew this album because this was everywhere. This was like the popular vote for Metal Album of the Year for 2014, and I think it's largely because of that closing track. I mean, it ends with like a spoken word chant eulogy, basically, and it's epic and a perfect closer to this album, which, as I said, is really the only album that I like by Behemoth. And I think it's just because they nail the gimmick they were trying to pull off from the beginning. I mean, I don't mean the beginning of their black metal era, but like of Nurgle dressing in armor and singing death metal era. So I'm a huge fan of this album, and a lot of it is because of the last track. So
good call, Logan. Yeah, I like a lot of Behemoth, but there's no Behemoth I really love.
I like their debut, that Storming Near the Baltic album. I think is a really good black metal record.
I haven't gotten back that
and
far.
That EP and the Forest Dream Eternally is a pretty good Burzum clone. That one, that's about as close to Burzum as I think as anybody's gotten, truthfully.
Yeah, they're an interesting band to see how they kind of changed over time, and it's kind of a gradual transition out of the black metal and into the deathy stuff. But so I own more Behemoth albums than I probably should because I don't revisit them very much. But it's always like, it's not that bad. But they never have released that one thing that I consider a masterpiece. I haven't heard the new one. Maybe that's the masterpiece.
They should
have maybe not based on the reviews.
We got the promo, and I never even maybe I did spin it for like 30 seconds, but
I didn't see the
sounds about right.
So I would have checked it out.
Terrible album title, that's for sure.
I'm kind of surprised Metal Blade. I mean, Metal Blade's always going to let artists do their thing. I'm a little surprised they went along with that one though. That's a thing.
I still think they're bigger than ever before, so that's probably
I
why.
think so. Yeah.
Nurgle's worked at it for a long time and built a following. So, yep, that's good for him. Yep.
All right. Well, since we were talking about Big Four stuff, how can you not send the horns to ending this album with Gung Ho? Holy shit. Talk about a frantic ending to a really good thrash record. Yeah. That song is just high intensity, and Joey is a weird fit in this band, but he's kind of perfect. He could sing. I see why they picked him, because he could sing like, the guy before him did on Fistful of Metal. All of a sudden his name has escaped me.
Neil Turbin.
Neil Turbin. Yeah. Thanks. But he had an aggression to him and a sharpness and a little bit more aggression in his voice when he wanted to. So he was kind of the vocalist that could take this band wherever they kind of wanted to go. If they wanted to go more traditional metal, they had the singer. If they wanted to stay thrashy, he could do that too. He might have been a little weird at first, but I don't know. I love how sharp the guitar tone on this. I love the production of it. I love the songs on here. But Gung Ho, I mean, it's just a teeth grinding closer, fast thrash song. Yeah, felt like they could do no wrong at this point. Gung Ho. Alan.
All right. I'm going to do a twofer here, dedicated to our friend S. Craig Zoller, because, one of these he hooked me up with, and the other one we share a love for that a lot of people don't get. The first of the two is the closing track to The Crowns, Death Race King, which is called Killing Star. This was a big album when it came out in the early 2000s. And I probably heard it at the time, but it just kind of went in one ear and out the other, never really connected. I completely kind of forgot about it. And sometime, I think it was like maybe late last year, somehow the topic came up, and Craig's like, "What do you mean you haven't? You don't remember it? You haven't heard it?" He's like, "Yeah, I kind of forgot it existed." He's like, "No, you must hear this." So he made sure to put this in my path, and it's a fantastic album. Really, really have enjoyed this. They really get that combination of death and thrash nailed down in a unique way that works fantastic. But yeah, that Killing Star track that it closes with, just a great infectious catchiness to it, kind of a punky drive. There's a lot of good songs on here, but that closing one, it's also, if I remember right, a little bit of a longer track, but it doesn't lose momentum, even though it goes on a bit longer. Really punishing song. So that's a cool one that needed to be mentioned. And the second half of this 2-for-1 is the closing track to Kirith Ungol's Paradise Lost album, the last of their original run of albums. This album's a little uneven. It has a few misfires on it, but the last 3 tracks are kind of a trilogy. And I hate to speak for Craig, but he's on record as saying, and I am too, those 3 tracks may be the best 1, 2, 3 ending to any album that we can think of. So, and the last one is the title track, Paradise Lost, and the way it starts alone is just, it'll raise the hair on the back of your neck. It's just, drums pounding, and Tim Baker comes in just screaming, underneath a newborn sun, and he's dragging out these words and screaming them with so much hate, and there's just this pounding music in the background. It's just massive sounding. It's the epitome of doom metal in a real angry delivery. And it blends again. The 2 tracks before it are exceptional. All 3 should be listened to as a single unit for sure. But yeah, if we want just the closing track by itself, fair enough. Paradise Lost is absolutely crushing. And like I said, some of the earlier stuff on this album, there's a few tracks on here that, decisions were made, and things were done, but all is forgiven by the time you get through those last 3 tracks. And it's what goes back to Logan's original point for the night. If you close your album strong, it leaves a great impression. Folks want to circle back and play it again. These last 3 tracks make me forget all about things like the very lackluster cover of Fire that was, only a few tracks earlier. It was 1,000,000 years ago by the time you get to that amazing closer, Paradise Lost. So, yep, 2 for S. Craig Zoller there. Great closing tracks. I'm confident he agrees with me on both of those.
Yeah, cheers to old Craig there for always hooking us up with the stuff. He just sent me the Precision LP the other day. I haven't sat down and listened to it yet, but thanks a bunch, Craig. You're always awesome. Thank you.
Indeed.
All right, Bill.
Okay, 2 more death metal here. This one, so final record by this band and a fitting epitaph, especially the final song. So we got Bolt Thrower, Those Once Loyal, When Cannons Fade.
Great closing
Actually,
album for them.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Good
a
call,
great
good call.
closing song for what is their, is their final album. Didn't know it at the time, but it's been 20 years since this came out, and
Yep.
Martin,
20.
Martin, yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe. I was thinking about that. I was like, fuck, it's been 20. It literally has been 20 years since this album came out.
Yeah.
And Martin, Kitty Kearns, their drummer, passed away a few years ago, and they said, "Now that's it." We're they felt like they couldn't top this record, which they're probably right. They probably couldn't. They said they had tried working on some stuff but weren't happy with it. And then with him passing away, they were like, "There's just no point. Like, it's just not Bolt Thrower without him in it anymore." So yeah, but I mean, this is a great album. In general, the At First Light, the intro track is phenomenal, and you've got like the Kill Chain, the title track, Last Stand of Humanity. Those are all really good songs. But yeah, When Cannons Fade is just like the classic Bolt Thrower song with crushing melodic riff. Carl's vocals sound awesome on this.
Yeah.
Really, really guttural, but still discernible what he's saying, and can't go wrong for a farewell album and farewell song with When Cannons Fade.
I get that mentality, but saying that, they couldn't do it without Kitty in the band, but Andy Whale was
Still alive. Yeah.
He was in Memoriam.
He was the original drummer.
He was in Memoriam with Carl. So I mean,
yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's more what's his name? The guitarist Gavin.
Yeah.
And Baz. So maybe they just don't want to do it anymore, and that's fair. If they don't want to do it,
fair enough. Yeah.
They don't want to do it. So, but yeah.
In a way, I think Bolt Thrower called it a day at a good point too. I mean, they've got a really solid discography, but I mean, they definitely had a sound.
Yeah.
And I do fear if they had kept going, but just making more albums of that same sound, at some point they probably would have started to feel a little too samey. The fact that, you're just, they stopped right at that point where each album still feels, distinct, really good, full of good songs. They didn't get to that point where it's just like, oh yeah, the 12th Bolt Thrower album, it sounds exactly like the last 3 Bolt Thrower albums, and you kind of start to lose interest, just kind of like what you said about Testament earlier, Bill, where the albums just start to feel too similar to one another.
They didn't wear out.
That's because there's so many of them for Testament, but Bolt Thrower doesn't have that,
which is good. The one thing I wish Bolt Thrower would actually do some official merch so that you could get like a T-shirt still, like an official T-shirt. Like
reissue the first album.
I appreciate their punk roots, but people want their stuff. I mean, I would love to have. I mean, the old Bolt Thrower shirt I had fell apart long ago, and like there's bootlegs out there. But I would love to give them. I mean, even they should. If anybody in Bolt Thrower is listening, print some merch, donate it. You can donate money to charity. You don't need to make money. You can donate it. Do something, do something valuable with it. But people are clamoring for official Bolt Thrower.
The brand lives on, and it's much loved. And obviously, there's
huge.
someone still maintaining all the reissues and stuff. So I mean, if you're to release, if the band would get together and say, okay, we're gonna just continue to make merch and stuff for what we've done, and why not
donate proceeds? If they want to donate it to charities where they're like, hey, we don't want to make money off this because we don't feel right about it, but we understand there's a demand, and so we're going to donate money to whatever whatever charities. That would be awesome. I think that would be a win-win for everybody. So
there have been I mean, even if there's weird issues with like rights to the artwork or stuff, just put the logo on it and put the big Eye of Chaos symbol
Oh,
on it. It
Yeah.
can be that simple, and people will buy it hand over fist. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't have to, it'd be great if they did, have some of the different cover arts available, but it just bolt thrower, big old chaos symbol. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole new generation of young kids that are discovering bolt thrower and want to represent. They go to eBay, and I hear, they're really, they're quite proficient at shutting down bootleggers. So, I mean, there are people in their camp that go actively look for this stuff.
I always wonder, is that earache, you think? That's like the police of the bolt
from
thrower logo?
From what I hear, it's the band themselves.
Interesting.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Or at least certain members of the band, and I don't know, maybe that's it. Maybe there's a disagreement amongst
more to the story
about what they want to do. So maybe that's what it all boils down to. I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there for anybody in bolt thrower that if they ever, on the off chance they hear it, like hook up the people and.
Yeah, the people demand a jigsaw puzzle of the cover art of In Battle There Is No Law.
Come on, Hell's Headbangers, help me out.
We want a official War Master T-shirt. Just do it.
Yep,
do it.
I just want jewel case CDs, not the fucking earache.
Oh God! Don't let earache reissue the CDs.
Yeah,
please.
You gotta find the older ones. All the ones I have. All the CDs in jewel case and stuff, but the newer ones I think are all those shitty digipacks. But
Earache makes the worst CD reissues. No, I will not buy Earache's new CDs. I will not buy those shit.
I hear they sound really good. They've done something to make them sound good, but they don't look good.
The full dynamic range.
Yeah, I think they've all remastered them. That's great, but the packaging I think is
the packaging is insulting.
For the lyrics, there's a website. You can type in a website. There's no booklet for the lyrics.
Yeah.
Go do earache.
And my response to that is, you know what, Earache? The music's on a website too. I'll just go listen to it there, and then get a goddamn penny of my money. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You can't be bothered to put a booklet in it or something. Hey, I don't. You complain about people not buying physical media, and then you put out that pile of garbage and ask money for it. Fuck you.
Go flinch your clist, Earache.
Yeah.
I'll make my own jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Off soapbox for me.
All right.
It's a good issues always rankle me. Sorry.
A worthy soapbox to be on for sure.
But you guys were thinking, fucking Human Falafel beat me to it. You guys were talking about death metal and reissues and stuff, and it's a good time to show.
Oh yeah,
one of my all-time favorite death metal albums and my favorite Immolation album, Close to a World Below.
You're even wearing the shirt, man. Are they paying you or something?
Shirt. They are, yeah. But not until the stream's over. Then the check clears. So I gotta make
like a NASCAR driver for Immolation right now.
Logan's got a lot of cats to feed. That country crock money can't pay for all the fancy fees.
See, Alan gets it. I try not to wear it on my sleeves too much, but
dude, those Walmart Ozzy posters aren't going to buy themselves.
Exactly. You get a bright shiny nickel every time Immolation is mentioned.
There's a Motley Crue one I've been eyeing, so I got to make some money.
Okay, slut, work it here for us.
All right, look at this album cover. It's sick. No, this is one of the most hateful albums I've ever heard. A lot death metal tries to be anti-Christian. It tries to come off as like, we're sacrilegious, we hate Christianity. Fuck you, church. Don't tell me what to do. Deicide had Glenn Benton doing all that shit, but it all sounds hollow compared to what Immolation does on Close to the World Below. This sounds like legit hatred at everything that Christianity stands for, because these people grew up in the Catholic Church and, living the life of being indoctrinated and coming out of it. And it sounds just toxic here. The album sounds how the cover looks, just on fire. It's one of the most eviscerating atmospheres I can think of for any album. And it's accented perfectly by the closer, the title track, Close to a World Below. It's a relentless album, and finally you get a breath of fresh air with the opening to Close to a World Below, which is kind of like that dissonant guitar riffage that only Immolation can write, and it sounds like eerie and atmospheric, and it's just a breath of calm before once again the pummeling drums and Immolation comes in and just tears you apart with the closing track, which is the longest song on this album. Perfect way to close it. This is a 10 out of 10 album for me, and part of it is because of the closing track, Close to the World Below, and just those like toxic venomous melodies that kind of weave through. So yeah, Immolation, probably the most consistent death metal band in my book, and this is my favorite album from them. So it has my favorite closing track too from the band.
Yeah. David asks a good question, and I don't know the full catalog, so I can't really answer it. But does Immolation have a bad album?
They don't.
Do you think Harnessing Ruin? I mean, I don't think they do.
I don't either. Like even
Yeah, I don't
Majesty and
think they do.
Decay, they're kind of coasting at that point, but still, it's a killer record. I mean,
Kingdom of Conspiracy still is coasting a little bit, but
they're
they're
still
still
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah, no
last,
complaints.
I think their last couple have been really good. I think
Atonement was outstanding.
Yes.
outstanding.
I really like the newest one, the one they put out, whatever, 3
Acts
years
of God,
ago.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
album too.
I thought that album was
That
quite
one's
good.
really dark. That
It's
Yeah.
very long.
album.
It's a very,
is
you can
long.
tell it's a pandemic album because there's a lot on it.
There's
a
like
lot.
13
Fair.
or
Yep.
14 songs, which one too many maybe, but
But a good album still. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? I held off long enough. Let's talk
There
about
we
this
go.
one.
There we go.
Walls of
we're
Jericho.
all waiting. Drink.
So you got these teenagers, these Germans making amazing speed metal with, they're starting to hint at power, but very much a speed metal record here, I think. And you end with How Many Tears, which is, you got a song about a pinball machine. You got, heavy metal is the law. You've got metal anthems. You got goofy Halloween type lyric songs about a pinball machine. And then you end with How Many Tears, which is very much a hope for a better world without violence or racism or hate. You got these kids writing lyrics like, how many tears flow away to become a sea of fears? How many hearts are torn apart till another torment starts? But before the world turns into a sun, all cruelty and violence on earth will be dead and gone. I mean, it's a very powerful song, and it's musically perfect. It's energetic. The lead work is, of course, outstanding. That has been a trademark. Yeah, sorry for all of you that didn't get drunk tonight. I saved it to the end. You can start now. Crack them open. Let's get this rolling. But yeah, this is just an absolutely very mature ending track, very energetic and emotional song to end a very powerful, fast, melodically charged album. And you got the first album and their latest, until the 29th, of course. They come back, they reunite with Kiska and Hansen, and they put this banger of an album out, and they end it with Skyfall, which is Kai Hansen's song. Very long song. It's like 12 minutes, 11 seconds. Song about alien crashing on Earth and going back home to a ruined planet, but it's a cheesy topic, but the song is fantastic. It's a fantastic it hints at the speed metal in parts. It's got the pretty power metal sections. Another bunch of old guys that understand the assignment, and they leave you wanting more with the end of an album. So they started that way, they're ending that way, and they do it again on the new album. Another good closing song on the new album coming up too. So absolutely great band. Still one of my favorites, and How Many Tears for sure is a standout for this discussion.
Indeed.
Alan.
All right. Do we want to make this last round, or do folks want this round plus one more?
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 left. I can double them up though.
That's why I'm asking, because I would do the same. But Bill, Logan, what do you think?
Let's do this and
plus one
this
more,
and one
please.
more.
This and one more. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
Sounds good.
All right, for this one, I'm going to revisit 2 bands quickly and add 1 more to the mix then. Let's do it this way. So, some bands that we've touched on before, but they had so many good albums with good closing tracks, we should shout more of them out. Judas Priest ends Painkiller with One Shot at Glory, which is just one of those blazing right off into the sunset tracks that just you want to get in your car and drive 100 miles an hour down the interstate and just never stop. Fantastic song, great album. It's a divisive album for some folks, and I get why some folks don't like it. It is very different from what Priest did before. Personally, I love it. And that track just, One Shot at Glory. In the crossfire overhead, fate stands before me, driving hard and seeing red. Just like, oh, fuck yeah, hit the gas. Here we go. Absolutely. Professor Steele gets speeding ticket 5 minutes later.
That album is great from start to finish. I love the whole thing.
Yeah. Another one we shouted out a couple of times, but we need one more Hail and Kill for Manowar's closing track off of Fighting the World. Again, a lot of folks not that keen on the Atlantic years, but you cannot deny Black Wind, Fire, and Steel.
Yeah.
That album goes out in a blaze of, Black Wind, Fire, and Steel. Another track that, just 100 miles per hour. Beautifully done. Band we actually haven't picked for tonight. I didn't know if one of their other ones would come up or not, but for me, one of the definitive songs in this style and in this band's very storied career, the closing track on Bathory's Hammerheart, One Road to Asa Bay. Beautiful storytelling, takes their time. Is the plight of colonization, the inevitability of a race, a culture going extinct. Just in a way, I think this song almost ruins all Viking metal that tried to come after it, because it's just like no one touches this. This is the masterpiece. This is all I really need in that style. Other bands are good. Other bands might come close, but nothing I've ever heard, touches the majesty of One Road to Asa Bay by Bathory. One of those weird bands that completely changed styles in the middle of their career, and both styles became the foundation for completely different genres of metal music. It's crazy to think that Quorthon, was able to do that, but he did. So yes, had to shout out One Road to Asa Bay. That's a majestic track if ever there was one. So that's my quick round here. We'll do one more round after this. So let me make sure y'all get plenty of time.
All right. Bill.
All right, let me grab. We'll do 3 here, and then my last round I can do 2 or 3. All right, we'll grab actually. All right, I also have a Bathory record, but from the other style, I have, of course, the Return of Darkness and Evil. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is pretty much the first true classic black metal record out of Scandinavia, and that song, it's like him, he's building off of his Venom and Motorhead base here and kind of adding his own ideas. I mean, I still love the sloppiness of the riff transitions and everything like that, but they're catchy riffs. You can hear him leveling up his playing and leveling up his songwriting on this record, and it's a classic, of course.
A lot of people always seem down on that album, and I don't get it, because I think it's like you said. I think it's just dark and evil and coming into his own.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the Yellow Goat self-titled is great, but of course, that is there's serious Venom and Motorhead worship. This is him taking that and kind of he's developing his playing skills where he's adding his own ideas. You can see him developing his own style, and then Under the Sign of the Black Mark, he kind of codifies black metal, if you will, and then he goes off kind of on his Viking thing. So, and then I mentioned Absu earlier, and I did want to talk about this one. This one actually ends with a song.
That's a great album.
Yeah, this is a great album. And this is, if Barathrum Vitriol is a lot kind of more death metal, and this is where they become the Absu that everybody knows and loves. Son of Tippereth. They're more black metal, thrash hybrid. The song Son of Tippereth is, of course, Proscriptor's drumming and his vocals are the real stars of the show.
He's a virtuoso for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's videos, people have probably heard the stories. In the early 2000s, he tried out for Slayer briefly. Yeah. And there's videos of him just jamming with Kerry King. playing, you know, as he's trying out, and he's fucking killing all the songs where you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what, there's an alternate universe where he becomes the drummer of Slayer, like Lombardo never comes back and Proscriptor becomes the drummer.
Mhm.
And I want to hear what a Slayer album with him playing drums would have been like a new Slayer album, but didn't happen. But yeah, so Absu, Son of Tippereth, great record. And then I'll save my last 3 for the next round, and then I'm done.
All right, Logan.
All right, I got a 3 for all the same band actually, and yeah, I do like when bands make it a pattern of, you know, building up to the closing track. Like they save all their best material for the closing track, and album after album, that's kind of what you're waiting for when you know that they have the best for last. And this is actually a metal club band that I showed the guys, and it was received all right. Thankfully, TJ was around to help me welcome Kimmis into the album club itinerary, and they just kill it. Every single closing song for the first 3, that's what I got, are phenomenal. Starting with their debut from 2015, Absolution, closes with The Bereaved. Marty, I mean, I'm sure you haven't revisited the Kimmis album, but definitely check out the closing track on here if you can, The Bereaved. It's epic. It's a beautiful, uplifting song, and
I didn't mind that record, but it's not something I'm going to listen to.
yeah,
ever.
I get it.
Yeah.
I would just be curious to hear if that the closing track on this one is up your alley at all, because it is all clean singing, and it does feel a bit more heavy metal uplifting in the style of like an Epic Doom track. But I mean, to me, the guy can sing, you know, so he nails it. And then Hunted on here is my favorite Kimmis song, one of my favorite tracks of the last decade, basically. And yeah, I love this album all the way through. There's a full hour and some minutes of us talking about it on this channel. Go check it out. And the last album that I truly care about, which came out in 2019 or 2018, I believe, Desolation. The final song on this one, From Ruin, is once again just an epic, more somber sounding track, but the guitar work and the melodies that are on display just stick with you. And once again, it makes the whole album worthwhile visiting just so you can get to the final song. And that's what I love about these 3 albums, is they all are a journey to get to that climax and that, you know, epic closing notes. And then you just want to listen to the whole discography as you're going through. So I wanted to highlight Kimmis. To me, one of my favorite bands to be writing metal in the past decade.
All right. Oop, it's me. I almost pulled up Alan. All right. This is a weird pairing. And this is a weird pick for this band. I picked this song because I recently revisited this record in my Kiss, Black Sabbath, old Marty, young Marty stuff, but I just wanted to look it up the other day. And you know what? This album is really good. It holds up remarkably well. And it's heavy. Vinnie Vincent representing on here. And it's funny because as Kiss went on, they started getting a little bit polluted by, you know, the Desmond Childs of the world. They start bringing, like, Bryan Adams wrote some songs on Creatures of the Night. Michael Bolton wrote some songs for Kiss, but on this one, you look and it, all the songwriting is in-house. It's Paul and Gene writing with Vinnie Vincent. But anyway, they end this track with "And on the Eighth Day," which is, you know, I could have picked a Black Diamond or another Kiss song off an older Kiss album, but it's just a good, fun Kiss song. It's got Gene singing on it. I like Paul's voice. He is kind of the voice of Kiss, but so is Gene. And I always kind of liked his voice a bit better. But yeah, On the Eighth Day, just a fun Kiss song. It's kind of an uplifting, you know, on the 8th day, God created rock and roll. It's cheesy as shit, but I'm a Kiss guy. Always will be. This is the way that goes. And here I'm pairing it with off of Panopticon's Roads to the North. Shout out to Austin. Chase the Grain, the very last song on here. What a epic beautiful, fast, powerful song. There's like a breakdown in the middle of the song where there's like some choir type stuff, and the bell sounds, and then just when the music, the blasting kicks back in, it's just a very powerful use of dynamics. Death Metal Podcast, Brian Adams co-wrote War Machine, the heaviest song on Creatures of the Night, and the closing song on that album. He wrote that I couldn't believe it. Anyway, Chase the Grain. This is an amazing, powerful, atmospheric explosion of US black metal on a very great record. This is Austin really starts dialing it in here. He fully realizes his capabilities and starts to explore more with experimenting with more sounds, more synth, more stuff like bells, and just good things to accent his vision in this highly emotional style of music. So yep, that'll be it for I got one more round, 3 records. Ouch. And Alan.
All right. So my last round here, something I meant to mention earlier, public service announcement. In case some folks have missed it, our buddies over at Radical Research have been uploading a lot of their podcast episodes onto YouTube.
I noticed that. That's cool.
Yeah. If you prefer to listen to that kind of content on YouTube rather than over on their website, a lot of it is now available. I don't know if they're uploading in a particular order or not.
Yeah,
but regardless, a lot of their content has been put up there recently. So go
cheers to
check
Jeff and Hunter. Love those guys.
Yeah, awesome guys and awesome episodes. Even when they're talking about non-metal stuff, it's always very insightful and interesting. All right, so last 3 for me. We're wrapping things up here. You might say it was a long way home to get to the last track on Royal Hunt's Paradox, which is called It's Over. This is a beautiful sort of progressive metal album masterpiece from the late 90s. Features the stellar voice of DC Cooper, tremendous vocalist, and really kind of his peak years here. The album is fantastic, deep, has held up extremely well, even though it's almost 30 years old at this point. And this closing song is just beautifully put together. DC really gets to soar on it. So yes, the final track on Royal Hunt's Paradox is worth the price of admission by itself. The rest of the album's amazing too. Next up, the closing track to Virgin Steel's Invictus is called Vini Vidi Vici. We came, we saw, we conquered. This album, DeFay is really sort of channeling his Manowar admiration quite a bit, but it's a really well done, sort of angry and defiant style Manowar. It's of course infused with his interests in more like Greek and classical mythology. And this last track, there's a ton of great stuff. This is arguably the best Virgin Steel album that a lot of people have never bothered to check out. It came in the late 90s when this band was off most people's radar. But this closing track is another one of those that just gallops off into the sunset, and they just decimate everything in their path. We came, we saw, we conquered you all. Enough said. And for the very last one, let me see. Let's check the time. It is 12:05. Okay, that's good. Because for this last one, the clock strikes 12 and moondrops burst out at you from their hiding place. Aaron just mentioned it in the chat. Astronomy from Blue Oyster Cult's third and last album in the Black and White series, Secret Treaties. Astronomy is just, yes, one of those absolute hallmark songs. Blue Oyster Cult, of course, has lots of interesting stuff throughout their catalog. Most folks, of course, are always going to gravitate towards Don't Fear the Reaper and stuff. But Astronomy, just those first 2 lines are magical. And you just know immediately this is going to be a really timeless song. And it absolutely lives up to that. One of the best in their catalog. Maybe not my favorite in their catalog, but it's in the running. Astronomy is a masterpiece of songwriting by a band that was really fucking good at songwriting and collaborating with people who are really good at songwriting. So yes, Aaron, you spoiled it there almost in the chat at the last minute, but yes, I've had it queued up the whole night, but I wanted to wait until the clock struck 12 before I mentioned astronomy. And a final, also thank you to Aaron. I was out at a record store earlier this week, stumbled into some weird vinyl I wasn't familiar with, and he was able to help me sort of navigate and get me some information real quick, so I knew what the hell I was looking at. So thank you very much for that, Aaron. That was really helpful.
Aaron's the best. Cheers, man.
Aaron's the best. With that, my list is done. So, fellas, you each have one more chance to prove that Hallowed Be Thy Name is not the best ending track of all time, because I have yet to hear one that I would rank higher. Go for
I don't know. Distant Flame Before the Sun. Right up there. Bill.
All right, last three. So here we go. Deceased, Ellie's Dementia. Love Deceased, love King. I know you guys love King. The guy's a character.
Oh, yeah.
I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
and Deceased are such a phenomenal band. Ellie's Dementia is a great closing track. I mean, to this horror anthology album, you know, this sees them. I mean, they're really incorporating a lot more of those kind of King Diamond elements and you know, other influences. Maybe even like stuff like, I don't know if King would say Death SS, but I think on a certain level, more of just his love of old cheesy horror movies and stuff like that. So great there. Also got to give the Greeks some credit here. Rotting Christ, the fourth night of Revelation on this. Oh, great closing track. Great album. The first three Rotting Christ albums are phenomenal. And, you know, I love the stuff with Jim Mutilator. I think that's why I like Yotheria, his band, so much, because it really captures the elements of the early Rotting Christ. Those just kind of like pulsing dark riffs with the evil vocals, you know. So love that. And lastly, another Swedish masterpiece, Dawn, Slaughter Son.
Classic.
Maldictum Murder. A really, really, really good.
Nice choice.
You know, 11-minute epic. You know, this is like them, you know, obviously a lot of their earlier stuff was more death metal, but this is them kind of channeling on the melodic black metal thing. It's like they're incorporating stuff from, you know, some of that like Dissection and things like that. And I don't know, but this album is just as good as I would say as like Storm of the Light Bane or The Somber Lane, any of that, a masterpiece. So it's
toe to toe with those, and one of the few albums that is.
Yeah. And that's all I got. That's it.
All right, Logan.
All right, so seems like we're doing threes here. So I will end with three albums. First, kind of sticking with the death metal immolation kind of style, but moving it up almost a whole decade. So this is 2009. Dead Congregation's debut, Graves of the Archangels.
Great album.
Great album. A big album for death metal, and really kind of cemented it as, you know, coming back properly in the 2010s. And great riffs, definitely in that immolation vein. A lot of immolation style riffs here, but almost a bit murkier at times. But the hatred against all things religion is still very true here. This is one of those albums for me that it starts strong. It kind of does blend together a little bit in the middle, but then when you get to the final track, Teeth into Red, you're fully brought out of it, and it just has this epic like crescendo. It kind of just pummels you into the wall at the very end, and you get the you know, Gregorian chants, and it sounds quite biblical, but then there's just this riff that keeps coming back and really keeps the song alive for the full 8 minutes. And it's one of the best death metal songs of the past 2 decades now at this point, which is crazy. And I had to mention Dead Congregation. Then from there, one of my all-time favorite bands. Are they metal? You know, I don't know. But Marty started with Joy Division and stuff. So here, Faith No More.
That's a good album. I like that album. That's one of the few I own by them. Yeah.
Angel Dust will always be my favorite, but this album ends with Just a Man, which is such a unique song. If you have not heard Just a Man, go listen to it. But listen to the whole album first because it's amazing all the way through. It really shows Faith No More at their most dynamic and at their two extremes. Like you have their most extreme metal songs paired right next to their most interesting and like outlandish, like this is like a choral, I mean, go to any church and you'll hear Just a Man. It's just a beautiful, uplifting track, and it's a perfect closing song. It's something that the band had never done up to this point, and it really just nails the feel and the vibe of this album from Faith No More, and really just perfectly accents what Faith No More does as a band. So yeah, love that song. And then so we're trying to defeat Hallowed Be Thy Name. So I saved the best for last, Alan. So this could be it. This could be the song. You'd be like, oh, I will give it to you.
You've got one shot at glory.
This
Logan.
one shot at glory.
Glory.
Final shot.
Sleep, dope smoker.
God, you are on crack. It's
It's one song.
it's one riff. Yep.
Sorry
there he goes.
for that, folks. Technical
him.
difficulty.
Yeah. Something happened to the feed there. Oh, there he's back.
All right. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
Are you kidding? Are you kidding right now?
Yeah, I'm fucking with you guys a little bit, but the opening song is pretty good, but the closing song is the best.
It's the same riff for 90 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a great riff. It's a great riff.
Boring as shit.
Sorry, here's
It puts me
Alan-
to sleep.
Alan. Truthfully, I agree with you. Nothing beats "Hallowed Be Thy Name." It is the number one closing song.
Nothing says drugs are bad more than that album.
Guys, if you can't go to bed after this stream, just put this on, please, and you'll have a great rest of your evening. I love it. I think it's great. I love the one riff. It's boring. It's awesome. I love it.
You're not alone. A lot of people think that shit.
I mean, some people, some parents worried that heavy metal would make their kids worship Satan. They listen to that album; it's going to make them become narcoleptic.
Yep. And I do like the closing song on their comeback album, The Sciences.
That's not bad. I did listen to that when it came out. And it's not a bad album. There's more than one riff on it.
There's three, and the riff that's on the final song, The Botanist, which is just an instrumental track, is great. I think it plays the album out in a very chill and like kind of somber mood. Just a chill vibe, like one that hitting the bong. Why not? So, just a final chill outro for the evening. This is kind of how I wanted to end it. Just take it easy, guys. Cheers.
Dope smoker.
Dope smoker.
We need to get more power metal into this guy. He's coming along nicely, but this is wow.
That Sleep album can definitely be buried in smoke.
Oh, you killed me.
All right. Well, all right, here we go. 3 for. Man, I really wanted With Strength I Burn to be in this list, but there's an instrumental at the end of that of Anthems. But in a way, Satana. Come on. There's a good talk about sweeping, epic, symphonic, great ending to this or Anthems. I keep going back and forth on. This is the product of 16-year-olds, which again blows my stupid mind right off my shoulders. The 16-year-olds were writing, this is when they still were clinging a bit to the necro cult black metal Norwegian vibe. But they made it very sophisticated. The Isan's gift of layering synths really elevated this stuff to a class above a lot of the bands that were coming out of Norway as far as musicality and composition and songwriting and layering. I interviewed him during the Anthems era, and he was saying that layering synths is very easy for him, and there were moments on Anthems where he had like 15 synth layers at one point, and it's crazy. But some people just have the gift. This for me though, it's a great mix of the cult era of Emperor and what they would become for a brief moment. Then after Anthems, they started to lose me. Nine Equilibrium's got its moments, but I don't really like where they went. It ended up kind of sounding like the Eson solo project stuff, which I find boring. I just do. And again, endless thanks to Logan for hooking me up with this classic. But you end with Overkill. What a great, great song to end in a great, great album.
It's a creepy song.
Creepy song. The lyrics
Awesome.
are great. You know, it's kind of an epic, a tale. They're telling a very
Mhm.
scary, creepy tale with a punky thrash aesthetic. And God, this album, did they ever get better than this album? It's tough.
Yes.
A lot, you know, I know, and I agree, and I agree with you. I agree with you.
But barely.
Horoscope is great. Years of Decay are great. Those are two. I cherish those records, but I always, whenever I'm listening to Overkill now, it's this. This album is just an absolute fucking great. Yeah, this is Rat Skates, man. I love the Rat Skates era. I love his drumming. It's very, you can tell he's a very talented technical drummer, but he's got the punk aesthetic and a youthful energy to try stuff. And it doesn't always land it, but man, it's great. I love it. And this is a weird choice for me to pick on this, but this is Twilight of the Gods by Bathory. The song ends with Hammerheart, which is okay. The melody of Hammerheart is adapted from the fourth movement of Jupiter from the Planets Suite by English classical composer Gustav Holst. And it is a classical song that Quorthon put lyrics over. And this is honestly Quorthon's worst vocal performance on any of the Bathory records. He really struggles on this record. His voice, he's trying things that he just doesn't stick, but I like the charm of that. But his singing, this is just a very epic, emotional ending to a good album. It's not a great album. There's some great songs on here. Under the Runes, what a great song. Holy shit. Some awesome Viking metal on here. I just wish Quorthon's voice he nailed it down a bit better. He did much better on Blood on Ice moving forward. That's my favorite Bathory record, hands down. And the Nordland albums, he got it figured out. But he struggles here, but man, what a powerful ending. You know, him putting words and singing over that classical piece. Fantastic. I love how he ends this. And yeah, maybe a weird pick, but I always loved that. Whenever it got to that, I would listen to that a couple times too. Very good. Very good.
Cool.
And there we have it.
Yep. We've made it to the closing track of this podcast on closing tracks.
And it's a topic that we could probably revisit, and you know, we could add a whole bunch of guests, and there will always be different answers, you know.
I didn't get to any of these.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I showed everything I picked, but you know.
Yeah, I still have like 15 or so. So I'm with Alan.
Save it for the next one. Save it for the next time we circle around on this.
I kept a list of what I used this time, so I can easily pick different stuff next time. Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out, Logan. It was a great topic idea. And Bill, really glad just to have you back on. We don't have you on often enough. So thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
It was fun.
Yeah. And again, if you folks are not familiar with Bill or Logan, which, you know, if you watch his channel, you're very familiar with Logan, but let's get the Ninth Circle and Metal and Beer Snob some more subs. The links to their channels are below. And of course, more subs for Let's Talk Metal as well. Alan is doing the Lord's work over in his corner of the internet for sure. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's it. Anybody have anything to add or plug before we jump? Bill, you have anything coming up?
Like I said, Uncross is going to be recording end of this year, so pretty early next year we should have a new release, probably a 4 or 5 song EP. So watch for that.
Yep. Let us know when it comes out, and we'll help spread the word.
Well, thanks, guys.
Right on, Logan. You got anything coming up that you want to? Oh, you got a stream with gas masks and hand grenades coming up.
Yep, next Thursday, talking about three albums from the kind of the grunge scene: Screaming Trees, Mad Season, and Temple of the Dog. Check that out. But also, I enjoyed that Forbidden album, so you know, I'm over the edge.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good show note there. The coming Wednesday, the Album Club will be discussing Forbidden Evil by Forbidden, their debut album. Another great ending song on that album. Come to Me, is that what the name of it is? Yeah. Awesome song, awesome band. And you're going to see more Logan on here too. He's sent a review that I have neglected to edit this past week because I've been so damn busy, but that's coming very soon. That's it, everybody. Thank you for joining us and making Heavy Metallurgy what it is. We appreciate all of you in the chat. And guys, again, thanks. We'll see you all next week. Alan, did you have anything to add before we left?
Flinch your clist.
Haha, fuck you.